Hello, everyone. Tonight, the Shark Tank returns once again with Shallow Waters. I am Omazen kicking off this stream for you all today with none other than Try Stories. Try, how are you doing?
I'm doing great actually. This is gonna be my first time commentating a tournament, and I'm excited to see how that goes.
No,
Shallow
awesome. Yeah,
Waters is
no.
also Shallow Waters is also filled with a lot of players that are around my skill level, so it would be cool to watch and see what other teams around me are doing.
No, absolutely. Div 7 and just that general territory a skill level, right? It's always so fun to see the rising talent, all the different new faces that typically join around that level who are just starting to make their stories or looking to make their first big claims and whatnot. It's also fun to see. I agree completely.
Yeah, it's fun to know about new teams that are up and coming or have been playing for a while that you would just never heard of. Because I mean, any team that is like under Div 7 being able to compete in this tournament means that like at any point, any new team is very likely going to come to Shark Tank. It is like a really popular lower level tournament, actually.
No, absolutely. And I wish that this tournament was around when I was Div 7 back in my day, which is crazy to say. We had mostly just Little Squid League, and then FTAU was starting to become more of a prevalent thing towards the latter half of all that. So, seeing these new tourneys pop up, always fun. I mean, I say new, like Shark Tank's been around for a minute, like a bit more than a minute. So it's really fun to see just the evolution of all this, right? So, we are looking to get our first set kind of loaded up here very shortly. All the teams are starting to queue in. They're starting to figure out what they're going to be really opening with as we start up today. Try stories.
Do we know what the first map mode combo is?
Yeah, that's going to be Scorch Gorge Rainmaker. That's where we're tentatively going to be opening today from the looks of it. I say that it's
Oh wait,
actually
hang on.
Rainmaker
I,
Humpback. There was a little bit of
okay.
a misreading. All good, all good. But yes, Rainmaker Humpback. Um, yeah, I mean, Rainmaker Humpback, probably one of the more explosive Rainmaker maps, of course. I think that's fair to say, right?
Oh,
But
extremely.
also, it's probably like just I think everyone can agree it's the Rainmaker map. If you're looking to get into some deals in business, that's where you want to head off to. You're accomplishing literally nothing if you go on to a different Rainmaker map, like I don't know, even like a Scorch Gorge is a little bit iffy at times. It's so hard to push up on certain maps.
Yeah, Humpback is definitely really good for sharking weapons and AoE weapons and fighting weapons. I think people like it because it encourages a lot more fighting than Rainmaker traditionally does, just because of the layout of the map. Rainmaker is a bit of a slower mode, and a lot of people don't like that. Humpback definitely speeds it up quite a bit. Like, Humpback Rainmaker definitely feels like what Rainmaker was supposed to be. Super explosive, super fast-paced, a lot of points being scored at once.
No, agreed completely. And I think that shoulder creates so much kind of like tension. It's like a bottle waiting to pop, right? Like after you shake it up and it's starting to fizzle. It's starting to be like, I might explode at any moment. And you're not going to be ready for it when it inevitably happens. And it's always really kind of fun to see that tension build up and the inevitable crazy pushes that still tend to happen on this map. It's a total kind of like race to the finish line.
Yeah, around the shoulder, you mean where the checkpoint is, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
really, really massive choke point. Super good for AoE weapons under the window. Super good for backline weapons that can kind of just sit in mid and snipe from mid, like, into the enemy window. There are just a lot of really good positions to take to hold and pressure that checkpoint for a long period of time. It really makes you feel rewarded for not dying when you hit the checkpoint. Because if you don't die when you hit the checkpoint, you can kind of just sit there and wait for as long as possible to get your next push, and you can honestly realistically win this in 2 pushes. If your team's positioning is good.
No, absolutely. I agree completely there. I think another thing I like about this map a lot is although everyone's very much funneled into, generally speaking for them, like the right of them, right, where that shoulder checkpoint is going to be, there is still that option to get a bit crazy and take the opposite route, where you can go ahead and take that step jump and kind of just suddenly sneak into the opponent's base, seemingly. That's always really fun to see when it does work out, and I am excited to see if any team maybe decides to go that route and get a little bit crazy.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I probably shouldn't. I give my captain migraines going that way, but it's fun.
Oh
It's
yeah.
fun to sneak past when your team has the whole enemy team locked on right side, or at like a point where everybody has already dropped into mid. You can get there from the ink rail that's in your base too, because you can take the ink rail that way. So if you're being like super locked out, if you can somehow get past that ink rail, you could pretty much do an uncontested push, assuming that the enemy team is like either super out of position or like maybe like not looking at the screen.
That's true as well. I gotta ask you, between like low cortisol and high cortisol, like which is which to you in terms of these push routes the teams have available to them?
Uh, that's a good question. I have no idea how to answer that. I'm gonna say
I mean, I'm more than happy to like give my thought first if that maybe gives you any additional
please.
pushes one way or the other. But in my opinion, I think the low cortisol route is gonna be that funny one to the left, that opposite one that teams never push. We have to go in the bunker and everything. And I hope that we see some low cortisol plays today as we open up our very first game of set one.
Starting this comp, we have a stringer, a stamper. See, stringer, stamper, try nouveau. It looks like, and a forge pro. And then on gold flare, dapple dooley, stamper, heavy, and brush. So we have a sword on both comps. Very good weapon for maps like this. Since you can hit over the ledges here, you can move around a lot. Your mobility is really good for this map. It's really hard to hit swords on this map.
Yeah, there's so many different slopes, obviously. It's kind of like an inverted bowl, right? With a kind of hill in the center that so many teams can filter through. Heavy as well, like really strong weapon overall we've seen the past few months. It's the ultimate painter now. It's seemingly been able to beat Pencil at times at its own game. And the amount of pressure it can get with the fall off too is absolutely insane on Humpback Rainmaker. Opening up here, we do see two go down on Ramen Bowl. That's going to open up an opportunity for the side of Gold Flare to push in. This try Gabe here trying to do everything they can to slow it down, but they will go down, allowing the checkpoint to go into the favor of Gold Flare.
Yeah, now they can honestly just sit back and kind of play to their range. Normally, heavy comps generally have less range than other ones, since most backlines outrange it pretty... Oh my god. Oh,
Oops.
immediately wiped out. So, the stringer outranging the heavy is definitely a slight issue, but for the most part, having a significantly more mobile backline like heavy means that you can have a very aggressive comp here, but playing on defense, which they are now, it's going to be a little hard to keep Ramen Bowl walled out, because you don't really have the range that you need to make sure that you can take safe fights around this shoulder.
Yeah, and we've seen a really beautiful play here as well from both sides, really. Goldflare doing a great job of kind of playing up this defense, but Ramen Bowl being able to move just so fast. Like, I don't know, like, if I were to hypothetically invest in one of these teams, being a Shark Tank and all that, right? I don't know who I would really go for just yet. I might need to wait for their stakes to be claimed a bit more clearly. We are looking at a 61 to 60 remaining point differential here. So there's so much more that could happen this game as we are about to approach the halfway point.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on whether or not Goldflare can actually get the fights that they need, because it's definitely a significantly more aggressive comp. It has a mobile backline. The Dapple is very mobile. You have the beacons. You have the cooler. You don't have a lot of poking options though, and not a lot of ranged options. So you're very easily going to be just kind of walled out and removed from positions you'd like to be in. And while you're really mobile, you have to wonder if the Dapples and the Brush really have the fighting power for the aggression that their comp needs.
And just as we're kind of talking about all that, Ramen Bowl just running, sprinting even towards that final check, almost getting that KO even. But I say that, look at them.
Oh
They
my
just
god, they
did it
got
right
it.
there. They got it right there. That play right there, I think I might have to give them a 30% for $200,000.
Only 20,000, huh?
No,
That cake really is equal.
200,000. No, we're investing big time into Ramen Bowl here, but that doesn't mean that Gold Flare hasn't put up a really good fight of their own as well. Both teams constantly going back and forth. Of course, like we were mentioning heading into that match, it just takes one big push to really seal your claim on Rainmaker Humpback. But now it's time for ship-shaped zones.
So for ship-shaped zones, it's a significantly more linear map than Humpback. Weapons that have the range advantage are probably going to do a lot better here, since there aren't as many flank routes. There aren't as many sharking opportunities. So I'm wondering if Gold Flare is going to switch up their weapon comp just a little bit, maybe have a bit more range to actually, because otherwise I don't see a good way for the Brush or the Dapples to really get in against anything else on the Ramen Bowl.
No, for sure. And really just both teams, like we saw a lot of really good stalling potential as well. They have clearly a lot of different good tools under their belts here that they can utilize. Both teams have a Booyah sword, I believe. Both teams have a lot of different ways they can kind of flank around, can kind of just create more stability. Obviously, heavy splatling is kind of king right now. So them being able to maybe make the most of certain choices like that is going to open up a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, if they can get in and take those fights, it's definitely going to be hard for Ramen Bowl to keep pace. If Gold Flare can take their fights well and just get that one pick at the start of the game, it is going to be very difficult to actually keep them out if they can get started, especially with those beacons. Having your beacon user and the cooler user like on the same slot, it's just a weapon. Dapples enables so much aggression and they can hold space really well. Because if the Dapples and the Brush don't have to take as many fights and they can just survive for a long period of time, they definitely have the mobility for that. So if they can just get that one good push, they might be able to lock out Ramen for the entire game of zones.
Now, if only it was ramen zones for the Ramen Bowl, that would be pretty iconic. But I
Yeah, I
mean, I
could even
guess these
go
maps are
better.
they're kind of like similar enough, I guess. Like it's sort of like if the main zone in the center for ramen, like if it just like fell down for some reason and there was like this massive like abyss of just zone. That's kind of what ship shape is to me. Like you have that big evil area where it's like if you walk in and there's too many of the opponent on the other side, you might be a little bit in for a bad time. But opening up here, we do see some different picks here. Ramen Bowl opting to bring out, I believe, a leader. I don't think we saw that last time. Um, and kind of a generally same comp from the side of Gold Flare.
Yeah, I would suspect that the leader is here because Ship Shape is a much more linear map. On a Humpback, the Stringer can play around the slopes and combo with its teammate a lot more. You wouldn't really like a leader for that. But here, it's just going to be even more difficult to approach for Gold Flare. And they already go one player down, two players down. They're a little staggered now, and they're being locked out. Are they going to be able? Are they going to be able to counter push this?
I mean, so far it's been a little bit back and forth despite this zone continuing to tick down. Both teams I've noticed when they're kind of in control of the zone, they kind of are constantly in a state of barely having control over it. That's how hotly contested this match has been so far. And both teams are definitely utilizing the skills and tools that their weapons can also provide. We saw that Dapple Dooley's just running forward. They were able to get a pick even off that. The leader is trying to take a more aggressive angle here, trying to set up on the side of their hill and having to back off still. They are able to take a lot of aggressive positions really quick, so it's going to come down to who can finally maybe just get a bit more of a stranglehold for the long term off it, and we might see that with Ramen Bowl right here.
Yeah, if there's anything I could call a stranglehold, it's a hold against a leader. It's not going to be easy to get past a leader on Ship Shape, but they've done it pretty consistently. It's just been hard to hold the advantage when they get it, but they've been able to find ways of getting in. You could see earlier that the Brush pushed the leader out of position, and that was really all they needed to take back the zone. They just couldn't keep it up for long enough. We don't really have a substantial lead from either team.
No, not really at all. Although Ramen Bull is starting to find a really strong pattern here. The Kraken is starting to go out from Gold Flare trying to make something happen, but Ramen Bull has been able to just paint up enough of the court of the side of Gold Flare that they're kind of just seemingly everywhere. Like Gold Flare doesn't really know where exactly to push in. They do find this stall on the zone here. This might be a really tough spot for Ramen Bull. We do see one go down from them, but the team of Gold Flare does end up wiping, and that's going to be another game in the favor of Ramen Bowl as a part of this set in round one.
Yeah, you could tell by the end of the game how much better Ramen Bowl's positioning was by the end of it. None of them were on top of each other, but they were still contributing to each other's fights. You can see at the end, Goldflare was kind of just forced to clump up together in the middle to force their way into the zone. And it ended up not working out because being clumped up against weapons with such high kill times is not ideal.
No, it's not ideal really at all. But I mean, both teams definitely showed a lot of just their main skills, a lot of kind of the value they bring, of course, too, right? And it was really exciting to see kind of those clashes happen. Gold Flare really had a strong opening on that second map. Both teams were constantly going back and forth on Humpback Rainmaker. So I definitely think that we could see potentially Gold Flare still maybe pop up later down the line in a really surprising upset or two, and I'm excited to see where they all go. And we're going to go ahead and take a short break as we get ready for Group Round 2. All right, welcome everyone once again to Groups Round 2 of Shark Tank Shallow Waters again. I am Omazen joining you back, and we also have Try Stories back again. Try, you were just saying as we were kind of getting prepared for this set that you might have faced one of the teams that we are about to be spectating here and commentating over. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
So yeah, it was either yesterday or the day before. I actually played in a pickup. I don't remember what tournament it was. Oh no, it was a scrim. I played in a pickup scrim with Sunset, and literally just today, like a few hours ago, I did a Ludi set against Sunstrike. So
All
I'm
right, so
actually
yeah.
familiar with both of these teams.
No, totally. And so we got a little bit of a funny, gimmicky, I'll even say, set here. We got Sunstrike versus Sunset, and it's a battle of the sun. Who can be the Sun team, is the way I like to look at it. And we're going to be determining that in our first game here on none other than Robo Ramen Zones. Quite the, typical pick we see in tourneys, but it's going to provide a lot of opportunities for one team to dominate over the other. Do you have any thoughts as we kind of start to prep for this match?
I'm excited because this is the first time that I've commentated a set where I'm familiar with both teams, and I really want to see which Sun team rises to the occasion and brings the heat. You know, which one of them will, I guess, shine a bit better.
I like the way you put that, and it's worth noting that both of these teams did win their previous set. Sunstrike was able to defeat, as I get everything loaded here, Time Flies, which was seed 8, so they were able to successfully beat that higher seeded team. And then on the side of Sunset, they were able to defeat the Metalopods. So both teams here kind of walking in with, from looks of it, some upsets, so good for them. Definitely really exciting, and we're going to be getting started into the action right now with Robo Ramen Zones.
It's starting with, what's that, Zephyrfin? It is Zephyrfin Charger. I haven't seen that in a while. Custom Blaster, Vanilla Pro, and Vanilla Dread. Two weapons I haven't seen in a while. You don't see a lot of Vanilla Pro or a lot of Zephyrfin anymore. And then a significantly more standard comp, the Dapple's Nouveau, the Frozen Pro, the Dynamo, and the Decav from Sunset.
Yeah, we have a lot of paint potential here on the side of Sunset, but we also have a lot of explosive potential on the side of Sunstrike as we see this Dread Ringer Slosher going ahead and getting a massive push there, allowing their team to push up and start their Sunstrike endeavors. We also do see Sunset Inkling here on the decav, trying to open up an opportunity for the rest of their team to pop in, but that Dreadringer is saying no once again. They do go down, but they've successfully stalled the push long enough where I don't think Sunset necessarily has the people it needs anymore in order to successfully push up for a hot moment.
Yeah, Sunstrike definitely has a lot of really good defensive tools to keep this push held pretty much until the end of the game. All that AoE is going to make it very difficult for Sunset to get in the optimal flanks. The crab means that they basically have two backlines. They have to approach this match super directly, and it's not working out. They can't take any flank rounds. They're just being blocked on all sides. But using the Reef Slider to get in and bubbling on it, giving them the opportunity to take the zone, stopping the game from ending with 7 points left on the clock. That was crazy.
And that's what you really need to be doing too if you are in this position like we saw Sunset being. They were able to kind of buy some more time for their team because of that, and now they have a window to try to get some more specials up. We do see missiles coming out. They're able to help displace that charger, although we also see two go down on the side of Sunset, trading out for that blaster player on Sunstrike. There's just paint going everywhere right now.
It was a little unfortunate that they had some players go down right after they took the zone, and they had to consume two specials to do it. Stopping it was definitely the priority, since, there were 7 seconds left on the clock. But it is a shame that they were not able to hold it for very long, but they do manage to get it back and score down to 60. If they can keep retaking and just not let Sunstrike burn through this penalty of 63, I mean, Sunstrike at this point has more points to score if they want to knock out.
This is absolutely true, and we do see Sunstrike continuing to get a really good hold over the map despite Sunset's attempts at kind of just gradually chipping in through and through. And just another reslider. We've seen so many resliders this game. That's kind of been the big, just determining factor on if a team's able to break in or hold control over this match in particular. And I think we are at kind of a really tight point here. Sunset is kind of down to the wire now. They need to get certain picks down, and they need to get control over the zone ASAP.
If they can get in and get this bubble, they might be able to hold it, going right in front of the Crab's face to pop that bubble, taking the necessary risky play to once again stop the game pretty much right before it ends. Unfortunately, they are now out of a bubble, and they're going to have to hold this position in the front with just their fighting power, though, because they don't have anything else online to really hold this out. Using the Dynamo in the Cavs' range to make sure that Sunstrike can't get in, oh, never mind.
We've seen Sunstrike once again continue to kind of set up this just so we see the blaster fall after getting a double. That's really nice. We've seen them consistently kind of force Sunset into a position where if they really want to have control, they need to earn it. They need to get those picks. They can't just walk in and expect to just have it handed over to them. And we see this, for instance, just really the whole team as a whole, just they're going around these key points on the map, just making sure that Sunset can't break in, and they don't. And that's going to be the first game here as a part of our second round going to Sunstrike.
I think one of the bigger problems that Sunset was facing is just the amount of resources they had to consume to retake zone, which means that they not only couldn't retake it for very long, but Sunstrike got to keep their resources and just counter push pretty much right afterwards. That first push back into the zone at the 7-point mark when it was 7 minutes left, they did use the Reef Slider in the bubble to take the zone at the last second, but I can't help but wonder if it would have been more ideal to use just the Reef Slider, maybe get the decav further up and get a bubble to help them hold a little more forward, maybe divert their specials a little bit. Because if they consume all of their specials trying to take back zone, they no longer have anything to defend themselves.
And playing off of that try, I mean, every second on, especially ramen zones, has value, and if you have a mistake, it could cost you everything, right? And when it comes to just these tight moments, these moments where you need to make sure you have those specials ready, you have to play very strategically. You have to have a kind of game plan in mind. You can't just go ahead and push directly, for instance, into the other team, unless if you're a reslider, which I guess go do whatever you want. That special kind of just does everything and anything, it feels like.
Yeah, especially on Robo, where the positions where you would use it, like onto the elbow right in front of the enemy, like in front of the enemy's base, it's really hard to actually punish the Reef Slider for using their slider there, unless you have like a significant range advantage. Because if they just take a really good angle, they can pretty much just cut you off, trap you in that corner, like in the glass. A lot of weapons can combo off that Reef Slider. It's just a really hard position to not at least get combo killed if somebody throws a slider at you. You have to be very prepared to either shut down the slider user before the slider comes out, or just be aware for when that user has sliders so you can reposition, maybe move around a little bit differently. But otherwise, it's just going to be really impossible to keep the slider user out of your court.
And going along with that, there's kind of a key difference between maybe being a bit more aggressive on certain plays and being a bit more reactive. When those sliders come out, you have to play reactive to a point, and you have to make sure that you can stay up and alive. You don't want to necessarily have a team wipe where you have to get up and get everything over all over again, right? So heading into game 2 here on none other than Umami Clamblitz, we are going to have to see if Sunset can answer the call to play things slightly differently, or if Sunstrike will continue with their dominance.
I think we do see a slight difference from both teams, actually. Their Frozen Pros switching to the Forge Pro, and then we have the Zephyrfin Charger switching over to the Crab Tank Charger. And oh, 3 down immediately as soon as we go in. Really good positioning from Sunstrike's players, not being clumped up on top of each other, being able to take really good team fights around corners, above walls. Basically just making it so those were very safe fights for them to take. They played to their ranges very well.
They did for sure, but I also want to comment on just that big bubbler usage from the Mint Decav along with also the Dynamo playing along with it. They were able to do a great job of working together to take out the remaining members of Sunstrike that were in their base, allowing an opportunity for the team to get back up here. But now it's kind of up to Sunset. Can they prevent another push? And so far, we do see a wipe out. That's going to be another push open up here for Sunstrike as they're looking to get set up as we see specials coming out from both sides. Sunset's doing everything in their power to make sure that Sunstrike can't stay in, but we might see another ball scored. Oh, they miss it.
Oh no. At the very least, neither of those pushes were particularly big. So we have a penalty strapped on. We have 2 power clams now, including the pity. So we can make a decent counter push here. This is a very easy lead to make up. But since Sunstrike has kept themselves so safe during those pushes, they still pretty much have all of mid control. And if they keep doing enough of these just 20-point pushes, eventually they will knock out if Sunstrike just can't get back. If Sunset just can't get back into mid.
And Sunstrike's been playing fearless this whole game here. They know what they're about. They know their tools that they have. Look at this crab. They just effortlessly pop it out. They're able to get 2 picks even. This decav trying to find a spot to exist in, but they can't because of those big bomb splats from the crab tank. It's doing so much damage, and Sunstrike seemingly has limitless control of this map.
Yeah, just even less than they had to start before this push. This might actually be the end of the game here. They only have 1 clam, and it's gone. Can the 52 get 2 more clams here? They can! They scored, and they knock out with Sunset not being able to score a single point. They just got locked out the entire game. Crab Tank in that 3rd push, at least, was a big part of that. Specials like that last, like, a really long time. Your crabs, your bubbles, your krakens, really good for just making sure that your pushes stay stable. You just cannot push out that crab tank off of your dome when you have the rest of the team also right in front of it protecting it.
I agree completely there. I also wanted to highlight at the very end there, Bagel, the Dapple Doolies from the side of Sunset, possibly the biggest underrated MVP of that whole match, able to find a triple at the very end, trying to buy some additional time for Sunset to still be in the game as they were up against the buzzer. But when it all came down to it, unfortunately, Sunstrike just had too many clams in their economy. I guess if you're going to invest in a team, it might have to be Sunstrike, but hey, Sunset definitely has quite a bit of potential as well here as we head into the latter rounds of Shark Tank. And speaking of which, we're going to head to a break as we get in on more action shortly. Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone, to Shark Tank Shallow Waters. And we are back with Groups Round 3, as we are now in the latter half of groups as a part of Shark Tank today. And we're going to be starting off with none other than Chiptune versus Can't Pick Up Maidens. Try, you're once again with me here today. What do you think of this matchup we got going here? Any thoughts of your own?
I think Can't Pick Up Maiden should have more confidence in themselves. Personally, I think if you just beat Chiptune here, just win Gold Shark Tank, you can get plenty of maidens. I've not figured that one out yet, but I will figure it out. I will eventually win Shark Tank, and I will get infinite maidens. They'll have to change their team name when they win Shark Tank. You know, that's where all the prize money is.
Are you saying that they'll have to like completely rebrand it? It can't pick up maidens anymore. It's gonna be like too many maidens. Please slow down.
Yeah, exactly. Or just like can pick up maidens.
Oh, can't. That'll be funny. I love the subtlety to your idea. I mean, going into this set here though, we are gonna be looking at Crableg Capital versus not versus, but on actually Clam Blitz. And Crableg, Clam Blitz, definitely a map of all time for some teams, but it has a lot of opportunity for just different ways you can approach the objective. There's really three main ways you can enter. You have, of course, the kind of far off route, which is going to be that little block jump you can do, I believe. You also have kind of the straightaway ramp. You have the graded bridge on the top right as well, depending on the way you're looking at the map. So quite a different few ways that teams can approach how they want to play it.
Yeah, I feel like there are just a lot of options to... The amount of options to get in doesn't match the amount of options to get out either. Whatever team gets in, if they can get a decent hold on their push, either approaching from mid or going like for the flank, like the jump over the left side or going over the grates on the right, it's going to be really easy to, like if you have the range for it, to keep the enemy team from flanking you just by holding those positions throughout the entire push. It's not easy to get out of Crableg's, like, get out of your spawn on Crableg against any team that has a range advantage. Because you kind of just have to drop on them and hope for the best. Or grind for specials.
And with it being Clam Blitz and all, you know, you have to make sure that you have your investments in place. You have to make sure that you have a strong, you know, just equity control over the map, right? So if I'm Chiptune or if I'm Can't Pick Up Maidens, I want to make sure that I just constantly have like 7 or 8 clams on me, maybe even 6 if you want to be a little goofy, right? But if I have all the clams and they don't have any of the clams, then I don't think they can even score. So that's the way I want to approach the map.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The economy would be really important here because those, like, because what I mentioned earlier about it being very, like, easy to lock people out on Crableg, you won't be able to do that for long if your push just kind of gets cut short by not having enough clams, or if somebody has to back up and leave some kind of position open in order to go and collect clams. It makes it really easy. It would make it a lot easier for the opposing team to push back against you if you go in without the clam economy.
No, absolutely. And kind of just that decision you have to make is going to determine how your pushes are going to be going for a hot minute, because the clams only spawn when they really feel like it. It seems like most of the time you'll see matches where a team just gets the entire economy handed to them. They don't really have to honestly put in even too much effort, and just all the clams coincidentally spawn right next to them, and it's awesome and it's beautiful obviously for them. But then you have other matches where there's a really explosive push that happens, and the team who's pushing is like, well, there's somehow literally nothing on the map. So the teams are going to have to be really kind of thoughtful, a little mindful. They're going to want to have some clams obviously under their control as they start to get those pushes up and running. But we'll have to see how both these teams choose to play it.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that happens a lot because people pick up clams, but when you die, you can only drop 3. Which means you can pick up the entire clam economy and then die, and then there are just no more clams on the map for the enemy's push. So it's very important to try to always be collecting when you have the opportunity to do it. Because even if you can shut down the enemy's push, if they had all the clams, you're not really going to be able to do anything after that. So you want to make sure that you are in equal control of the economy, even if you are winning all the fights.
And as we open up into this game here, we see the comps of both teams. Chiptune kind of opting for a little bit of a skirmishy, sort of supporty type build with their compo. The side of Can't Pick Up Maidens has a lot of kind of explosive tools at their resources. For instance, they do have that Reef Slider that we've been talking a lot about before. But, I mean, speaking of all that, Chiptune just exploding into this match. It's not even been a half of a minute, and we already see the first ball going in from their side thanks to that decav, who had a really nice push there with the rest of the team. But the Slosher and co from the side of Can't Pick Up Baitens is going to say, no, we think your push is over here, and they're only going to get that one initial super clam in the basket.
I do want to bring attention to that Dapples, though. Being able to stay there, their death wasn't really the biggest deal at the time. I mean, it is now because Can't Pick Up Maidens has mid control, but they were able to distract Can't Pick Up Maidens for long enough for their team to be able to keep control of mid for a little while, not get pushed all the way back. But right afterwards, that pick on the leader kind of shut that play down, and Maidens does end up getting their control back.
And if we're going to be talking about deals, you also have to talk about business, right? We do see this Slosher here get into a little bit of funny business, but it's funny business that's working for them. Able to just hold out this really nice shark here out of the line of the leader. This leader just being kind of, I'm sure, confused as to why they haven't landed that pick yet. I mean, I say that, of course, commentators curse. They do hit it on the third time. They actually hit another nice follow-up here. Maybe we should be investing into leader stocks. I don't know.
Oh my god. From funny business from Can't Pick Up Maidens to straight monkey business from Chiptune. The leader absolutely tearing the faces off of 3 members of Maidens, just stealing control from them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But hey, this control might not last as long as you'd expect, as that bubble does get grinded to a halt pretty quickly by Pilot. Pilot kind of being the MVP for Can't Pick Up Maidens so far from what we've seen. Able to just cancel a lot of pushes, able to open up a few different new opportunities for that team. But as we are entering kind of the latter half of this match now, we so far have only seen the only points coming down to Chiptune's initial push. So Can't Pick Up Maidens is going to have to try to make something happen here if they want to get some of their own points on the board.
They definitely have to try, but they don't have a single clam between any of them. They can have mid control all they want, they can get these picks, but if they can't form a ball, then they'll have to rely on their pity to score, and whatever push they get isn't going to last very long. They're going to have to hold this mid control for a lot longer than they probably want to.
And by trying to get some of those holds down, you're going to be able to open up a lot of new opportunities for yourself. But you have to make sure that you're doing it while you're also not in the line of sight of that E-leader. That E-leader seemingly kind of just ending up everywhere. And I say that, like, look at this decav too. The E-leader kind of setting up this opportunity for the rest of their teammates to get some nice, clean picks on the rest of the team. And that's just enabled this big push we're now seeing from the side of Chiptune. They've been able to get so many clams on the basket in such a short time. And even just these specials too getting outputted. Like, they're not necessarily finding the picks to accompany them fully, but they're finding enough chaos that they're just able to continue this control.
Yeah, I've started to see how well Chiptune's comp, with the even less than traditional splash on it, seems to work very well together. Being in the leader's sightlines kind of funnels enemies into positions that are outside the leader's sightlines, and you have highly mobile weapons like the dualies and the splash that can survive for very long if they just don't take dangerous fights. All of that combos very well with the decav just being able to shark and get picks on enemies that are moving wherever they don't want to be. They can force a lot of bad positions out of maidens.
Absolutely, and we do see Chiptune still kind of getting these key, kind of out of nowhere seemingly picks on the side of Can't Pick Up Maidens. They've been able to just disable kind of all those different flank pushes that they've been attempting to make, trying to just find some space for the team to move up. And it's even put Pilot here in a kind of awkward spot as they're stuck in that pit trying to make something happen. They do have strikes online, but Chiptune has plenty of clams in their inventory. Something Can't Pick Up Maidens is looking to maybe attempt to match as well on their end.
I have to wonder. This could be me. Oh, we have 10 seconds left on the clock, and we do have a pity on the side of Maidens, which means we can still score here. We still have an overtime here. But with no clams, you have to wonder. They're going to have to pace this push very well, and oh, they're already getting counter-pushed by the Cav. The Cav being able to get into the enemy's base from the left jump, and just putting in a bubble for an easy free power clam score to shut down the overtime.
They nearly could have KO'd probably if they timed that a bit earlier, but hey, they still won the match. Can't Pick Up Maidens, wasn't able to even get any points on the board, so I guess you can't be too unhappy with that result if you're Chiptune. Even closing out that fist bump, always fun to see, but if I'm Can't Pick Up Maidens, you kind of have to consider what kind of new opportunities can you utilize that might kind of put Chiptune in for a bit of a kind of new just set of strategies that they're going to have to expect on their end too, right? So it's going to be a bit different here. TC Mako Mart plays out quite differently from your average Clan Blitz map, so we're not exactly sure how these teams are going to adapt. Obviously, we saw certain weapons and kits like that Slosher from the side of Can't Pick Up Maidens that definitely can find a lot of value on maps like TC Mako Mart, but with how much Chiptune was able to dominate that last match, I'm not exactly sure what we'll see.
I'm hoping to see Can't Pick Up Maidens attempt to shut out the decav a little more. I feel like the decav got just so many opportunities to move around. I feel like the cav on Chiptune's team just kind of got to go wherever they wanted, relatively uncontested for the most part. And part of it is because having that leader allows you to like control enemy positioning so well that you can kind of funnel the enemy team away from players you don't want them near or into players you want them near. And as long as Chiptune knows how they're influencing the enemy's movement, they can do things like get the Cav to flank on the left of Crableg, get a free bubble in and get a free power clam score without being able to stop it at all, pretty much.
And I think something that both teams need to keep in mind, especially on a map with tower control, is that you can't hemorrhage ink. You can't have no ink for your team. You can have the best Slayer in the world, and if the other team has the entire map painted in their favor, or even a lot of mid, that's going to be a rough spot for you to try to open up into. So both of these teams opening up into our second match here. A couple small changes, I think, in terms of the comp. We do see more strikes at play, for instance, but it's going to be interesting to see how both these teams choose to open up.
Yeah, we're actually seeing a double sword comp coming out from Chiptune, replacing the Dapple Dualies with the Stamper, so you have a sharking weapon that can hit on the tower from under it, have another mobile weapon to move around all these tight corners around the stacks. Maybe on the left side, punishing pretty much the position that this mini is in right now. Basically having sort of this, like, being able to take similar angles to a bucket, basically, to take advantage of positions that they didn't really need to cover when it was Crableg.
As we've also seen this match open, probably the biggest unexpected play from the side of at least Chiptune's perspective was probably Heroes opening there, able to just kind of sprint into the bats of Chiptune's base, able to take one out, I believe, with that push as well, and they were able to kind of create enough of distraction to delay Chiptune's push, but the side of Can't Pick Up Maidens wasn't really able to fully connect with that. We do see quite a few going down from Chiptune here. The E leader kind of being the main force holding up kind of some space, but it's going to be Can't Pick Up Maiden's turn to get some points on the board.
Yeah, at the very least, with this kind of push, you want to at least be able to break checkpoint the same way that Chiptune has, so the next time that you push, oh, the Wellstring being able to very easily shut down that Stamper since it ran out of ink right in front of them. We have the checkpoint broken. We have the lead being taken. We can hold this for a bit here without sitting on tower. Can't Pick Up Maiden survive long enough to keep mid? Numbers are very close to even, but we get a wipeout on Can't Pick Up Maidens. We might just be able to get an even further push here. But I think Chiptune probably wants to move a little further forward before they all respawn and retake their positions.
And I think kind of the biggest thing we've seen so far from Chiptune is that they've been able to hold a lot more control over mid, generally speaking. We have seen some flanks come out from Can't Pick Up Maidens, and they have been able to have their own explosive pushes. They're even leading right now, to their credit, but Chiptune has been able to just have some of these major good hold plays so far. So both teams still clashing, still trying to figure out who can get the bigger lead as this score still continues to be tight.
Yeah, Chiptune very slowly but surely was attempting to push this tower, but a flank from the bucket is gonna distract two of their members, allowing Pick Up Maidens to actually get some mid control at all, actually, above Chiptune's paint. The leader being able to shut down the tower push helps, but if we don't watch those flank routes, that bucket's just gonna do it again. We can't have two players on one bucket while somebody is pushing.
And I mean, we've still kind of just ended up in this spot like the past 30 seconds or so. Both teams kind of have this weird control over mid right now. There's constantly a flank happening from both sides, with at least one player taking some sort of major off angle. The bucket in particular kind of playing this big off angle for Can't Pick Up Maidens right now. And then also the Stamper from the side of Chiptune kind of playing into that on their own end. And it's opened up this opportunity for Chiptune to attempt to find a lead. This might be the lead that they're going to need in order to attempt to close out the set. They are just slightly... It's so close here, because you think that they're going to maybe get that big push, getting around that corner, right? This corner here around kind of that snipe spot of the map allows so much value to be held, and if you can't necessarily cross it, you're still in a bit of a rough spot. So we actually might see Can't Pick Up Maidens get back in it. This game is not over yet.
Oh, that was almost a lead swap. Are we gonna get the lead swap here? We don't. Still pushing back, just barely before crossing the 56 mark. Tricky on the decav, getting a nice double to keep everybody safe on Chiptune, making sure that they have their comfortable lead for the next 40 seconds. Can't Pick Up Maidens doesn't have a lot more opportunities to push, and the further that they get pushed back by Chiptune, the further and further they're going to have to push this tower back if they take it.
And it looks like we're going to finally see a semblance of maybe that big push. I say that, but the strikes are coming out. The Booyah is countering that push, though. It's still kind of anyone's game, but it looks like Chiptune actually might be on the winning end of that. The Stamper distracting this bow as well, able to maybe get the pick. They do, barely kind of surviving that. They find a second. This is massive. They're even about to clear this second check potentially, and even though they don't get that full clear, they do find a pretty strong win overall.
Yeah. I wanted to give special attention again to not only Chiptune's decav, but Maiden's bucket. I feel like a lot of those fights that were taken for coming back and pushing back pushes, the bucket and the cav players really made sure to take those off angles to get behind the enemy team, and I feel like it really helped with all of those pushes back for both of them. I feel like the game was so back and forth because you had these two players constantly making sure that you had to be looking everywhere. You had to focus everywhere on the screen because there were constant flanks from both of them. It's really hard to keep control of the tower when you're being attacked from all angles.
No, it really is. I agree with that. And both teams, I think, were able to answer the call pretty well. I think that kind of reflects in the score too. Both teams were able to have a lot of strong flanks, like across the point of the middle of that match. There were constantly flanks everywhere, and it just came down to who could ultimately win it. And even though I think Can't Pick Up Maidens initially was able to get a good hold over the control of the map, they weren't able to translate that into just that winning push, or at least a winning lead that they could be comfortable with. And Chiptune was able to answer that call, able to fully realize what they needed to accomplish. And even though they did have that 1 point lead for a while there, they were able to translate it into a much wider one. So congrats to Chiptune. Can't Pick Up Maidens also putting up a strong fight as well, of course. That was a very close match. And we'll go ahead and transition into group round 4 as group round 3 concludes. Hello everyone, and welcome to our final round of Groups Round 4 of Shark Tank Shallow Waters, and we have quite the set to close out groups today with you all. I'm Omazon, and I'm being joined by Tri Stories once again to close out everything today. And Tri Stories, do you want to inform the lovely people of what we are about to get ourselves into?
I'm actually not sure. I don't think I've heard of either of these two teams. I don't think I'm familiar with any of these players. I am very curious though, especially Agenda's big fan of the banner. Stay base.
Stay based. True, I agree with that. But this is also seed 6 and 9 that we're about to see throw hands and just go for the big W. It's worth noting that I believe Agenda is currently 2-1, but Title Tempest is also 2-1, and currently Agenda is seeded to get gold bracket today, but Title Tempest is seeded to get silver. So the winner of this set might be able to switch places with their counterpart. We'll have to see how that plays out here, but yeah, as we head into this match, a lot is online for both teams. Hagglefish Market Tower Control should be our opener as we get into the groove of everything. And I don't know, there's quite a bit to look forward here.
I agree. Hagglefish is definitely a map where you can kind of tell where everybody wants to be positioned based on the weapon that they're playing. I wouldn't say it's a super linear map, but there are very clear and defined key positions that you need to either be in during a push or keep people out of during a push. The little gazebo area on the right is definitely one of them, which the tower's path goes right in front of. Having control over the enemy's tent is also very important, making sure that their backline weapons can't stay there, making sure that you can keep them off of their, making sure you can keep them off their ramp so they can't drop, watching the flank routes on the left side as well. There are just a lot of, you kind of know where people want to stand, so you just have to know where to get them away from those positions.
For sure. And you have to be mindful, right? Like, you need to have smart investments into your positioning. You have to make sure that if the team overextends, they have to pay for it, right? And the pushes that you do make, they need to have structure. And if you get those good structures down, now you might have some chaos on your hands, and it's the chaos you want. It's chaotic for the opponent, but it's good chaos for you. So opening up in here, both teams now starting to ready up into this match, looking to figure out what they want to go with. Agenda being pretty confident with some of their earlier picks, it seems, as we are waiting for them to, as a whole, figure out what they're going to do.
Now, a lot of Haggle Tower is making sure that you have the when you're planning a comp for Haggle Tower, you really want to make sure that you have the tools to get past that second checkpoint or the first checkpoint, whichever one is right next to gazebo on the right. That is the big choke point. You want a weapon that can pressure the gazebo from under it or can get on there and make sure they can hold that position. You want a backline weapon that can maybe get off the tower and sit on that block behind it just to make sure the tower is in play but keep themselves safe. Maybe have a bubble to sit in front of the tower, but pretty much anybody that can get significantly past that second and even the third checkpoint will have a very comfortable lead that's going to be hard to retake from. So that one push past the second or third checkpoint could just define the rest of the game after it.
Agreed completely, and tower control is very much a game mode of momentum. We always talk about snowbally maps, but pretty much every single tower control map without failure is snowbally. You want to build momentum, you want to snowball fast, you want to make sure that everything goes your way, and the only way you can make sure that happens is if the team as a whole is able to push that snowball or tower collectively.
Starting here from Agenda, we have a Tri-Nouveau, a Forge Pro, a 52, and a Heavy Deco, actually. And Title Tempest, the Bucket, the Junior, the Rapid Pro, and the Decap. One of our comps here going coolerless and just making sure that we have the survivability and paint power to have the control necessary to win fights. Because you don't need cooler if you don't die. Junior is probably one of the better options. Oh my, already 3 down. Yeah, having that better fighting power, you can see the better range, the better kill time, the better paint, already starting off really fast, just completely shutting down Agenda at the very beginning.
Tidal Tempest proving that maybe they deserve the stronger evaluation here if we're talking investing. But the side of Agenda, making sure that they don't lose the agenda themselves, perhaps. They were able to cancel that push without failure. They weren't even able to get that second ticker down. So now it's going to be their turn to push back in. We do see some specials online from both sides, and they are starting to come out. Booyah's coming out for the tri-strike, and it's just going to create this neutral situation where really nothing has been able to happen just yet, but that's kind of what Tidal Tempest wants. They don't want Agenda to have that big push, and this decaf playing off of everything wonderfully, able to get a double, able to prove that they're able to maybe convince us commentators who deserves the bigger praises.
Definitely a little bit of back and forth now between both teams. The fighting is pretty equal on both sides, but we see Tidal Tempest once again reclaiming that tower, hoping to score past the second checkpoint. If they can score past that third checkpoint, I honestly have to wonder what tools Agenda would have to make the same push. But they can very reasonably shut down Tidal Tempest. They still didn't make it past that checkpoint. But if they can make it to that checkpoint twice, they can definitely make it past.
And this Splattershot Pro player, I do want to highlight the Forge Pro from Agenda, able to just do such a great job of making sure that these pushes don't become death sentences for Agenda. They've been able to consistently cancel out just all these major push attempts via their Booyah Bomb, via their main as a whole, and also just able to play off their team very well too, who's also trying to make sure things don't get too hairy. Look at this Booyah coming out once again. They're being expertly placed. They're able to just completely stop the momentum from Tidal Tempest and stop them in their tracks. This is this type of play that you really want to see from teams of this caliber.
Yeah, being able to stop a push in his track like that is very valuable. You mentioned earlier that Tower is a game of momentum, and if you can just completely kill one team's momentum at any point, it's going to make it more and more difficult for them to keep going. But Tidal Tempest does not lose control there. They might break through this checkpoint this time with 3 down three going down on Agenda's team. We have pretty much all of our members defending the tower with their lives. The strike's coming out. We might be able to push it past. They get past the second checkpoint, and there's another wipeout.
I mean, this push has a lot of potential here. We might just see, because of that wipeout, it go down in the favor of Tidal Tempest. The blaster does go down from them, and this actually ends up being a wipeout on the side of Tidal Tempest. Agenda was able to just collectively pounce on every single member, kind of just corral them away from the tower, ironically. I didn't really expect a play like that to go down the way it did, but hey, it worked out in their favor wonderfully. We actually also see ADC on the side of Tidal Tempest. This is far past the window of time that they most likely have to actually maybe get a match reset. So this actually just became everyone's game very suddenly.
This is a massive morale hit to Tidal Tempest. They can still make this. They have an incredibly comfortable lead, and their only surviving member, oh, it's a full wipeout. But we still have time. We have time for them to respawn, to cut this push out. If they can take fights as a team, take good positions, make sure that they all survive, they can still shut this out before we reach 6, but the counter is slowly ticking down. The Kraken scoring 3 points on the tower, and we got another wipeout. That's going to be the most... That was so sad.
My jaw's on the floor right now. That was the most insane series of events. Like, it obviously no one wants to see a DC in a match, right? But like, Agenda just had everything lined up for them. It could have not been more perfect. They had, I mean, the unfortunate benefit of the DC They had the specials all lined up. They were able to collectively come together, get the picks they needed, and it just turned into the ultimate reverse snowball in their favor. And that was able to score them the first point of this set, leading us into Rainmaker Museum for the next game.
Rainmaker Museum is, at least Rainmaker specifically, I would say out of the other three modes that are not Tower, I would say that Rainmaker is probably the most similar to Tower in the sense that your longest your longest continuous push defines how good your score is. Which means that if we see the same type of game from Title and Agenda, Title might just take this one almost as handedly as they could have before they DC'd in Tower Haggle. So we do still have to see some meaningful adaptation from Agenda despite them winning that game.
And Try, I want to make something super clear for audience members as well. This is Shark Tank, all right? This is Shark Tank, not just Shark Tank, but Shark Tank Shallow Waters. And every push here is a pitch, right? Every push here is a pitch. And every wipeout could be a deal gone wrong, right? So if you're Title Tempest, you got to make sure that you get your deals closed and that you make sure that you just close out that objective. That's all I have to say on that matter.
I guess you could say that your decision to commit to a push is like how much money you're willing to commit.
Exactly.
How much money are you willing to commit on any given push? Are you going to bet $50,000? Or are you only going to bet 1,000? If you're only going to bet 1,000 on this push, you might not want to take the push at all.
And you want to make sure that you have the right evaluation in mind too, right? So like if I'm Title Tempest, are you putting it all on the line, or are you going to make sure that you have your priorities set? You don't want to go 100% for $1. That's a bad idea. You are getting absolutely nothing out of that. I would not sell my whole team or my business or whatever for $1. That's a horrible idea. But heading into the match here, regardless of any of that, we are seeing the initial comps coming out. Agenda kind of setting themselves up for a potential new success here with the back, but on the side of Title Tempest, we do see some new tools as well.
Yeah, so on the side of Agenda, switching over to the VAC 96, a really good way of pretty much scoring free points in Rainmaker, and didn't even need it for this push, with Title Tempest immediately going 3 down at the start. This is like the exact opposite of the start of the previous game where Title Tempest got their 3 and managed to push up. We already have a checkpoint taken less than 30 seconds into the game.
Yeah, and that's what you really want to see if you're Agenda. Obviously, they have a lot of momentum behind them based on how that tower control game went in their favor towards the end of it, but I mean, we still have plenty of game left here, as not even the first minute has passed. Title Tempest looking to play a bit more of a slow and steady sort of strategy here with their blasters in tow and also their big bubblers, but it's not able to necessarily land them the check they were looking for. This decav putting in overtime, trying to make sure that they can get the side of Agenda a bit more staggered, and so far it seems to be working for them okay enough.
That Rainmaker ended up rotating to a little bit of an inconvenient position. It's going to take slightly longer to score this check, and that slight delay coming from the Rainmaker just being rotated slightly was able to give Agenda just enough time to cut off Title Tempest's push, and they're going to sneak the Rainmaker past. All their surviving members were, oh my god, the Rapid can't hit it, it's too close! All of their surviving members were on the right side, so we just got a little sneak on the left.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Agenda, despite not having the biggest lead in the world, they do still have that check. They are still even picking up the Rainmaker. I don't know if I would have gone for that play personally if I were that Kraken, but, you know, it's getting enough value for the team as a whole. It's distracting the members of Title Tempest. They are having to look at multiple different players, but, I mean, if you have a player like this gamer we're seeing right here, Luigion, it doesn't really matter. Like, this junior's just going everywhere and anywhere. They're able to get so much value just by really utilizing their main.
Yeah, Junior's pain output being as good as it is, it really does give the Bucket and the Decav just all the space that they need to move around. There is no struggle for them to get into key positions. And the Cav moving up to the right, like, With the junior right next to it, it's really hard to keep the decav away from you because you can't paint over the cav's feet to cut it off from retreating or from moving towards you because there's someone painting it right under you.
No, absolutely. And as we kind of see this match continuing, Tidal Tempest has actually finally found a lead of their own. They finally got that checkpoint thanks to the big bubblers in tow, and they were able to get the Rainmaker up quite a bit. Once you kind of pass that 40 remaining points mark on this map mode, you kind of are at a point where you can relax a little bit. That's kind of like the big marker for like how the pushes are kind of set to go from here on out. So if I'm Tidal Tempest, I would try to bide my time a little bit, try to play the stally game that their comp is sort of built for here, and see what they can get away with.
Yeah, speaking on the matter of, I mentioned earlier that Tidal Tempest is not running a cooler comp, not inherently a bad thing, but the places that you would want cooler the most are kind of in positions like this, where in order to play defense, there's going to be a lot of fighting going on. So we're going to have to make sure that we survive these interactions, because it's going to take us so much longer to respawn. And seeing it right here, oh, the strike's managing to interrupt the
Oh,
push, but 3 had gone down on Tidal, now 3 going down on Agenda. They managed to come back just in time.
yeah, what a play there. Like, Agenda was setting themselves up for potentially a massive lead with the back, but the Ink Strike saying, nah, I don't really feel like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to give that to you today. Tidal Tempest able to hold down for now, even though they only have a 4-point lead, but when you're at less than a minute remaining of the match, this is the spot you want to be in. Are they going to find the picks they need to make sure this happens? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, 2 or 3 going down on Tidal Tempest again. It probably isn't going to make that much of a difference now at 22 how many picks Tidal Tempest gets. They probably just want to make sure that they back up a little bit, make sure they don't lose mid control, make sure they grind their specials, stay on defense, and just shut this push down the moment it tries to occur. We don't have to be very aggressive here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now Agenda does have possession of the Rainmaker. The strikes are coming out once again, but they're a tad early, arguably. The VAC is coming out too. This might be the lead swap, and it's not. The Rainmaker trying to make a dive, trying to get that lead at the last moment there. But they did have enough time to maybe stall out a bit longer, waiting for that Ink Vac to come up. And they unfortunately were just out of range of the protection of it. And that's actually going to be the game going in favor of Tidal Tempest. And we're getting our first one-on-one situation here on stream.
Yeah, this is definitely a really scary position for Tidal Tempest to be in, despite the fact that they just won that game. After having the DC in the first game that you had so dominantly, you would think coming into the next one, it's like, alright, you lock in, you just win the next one. We pretty much had it the first time, we just had a DC, it was inconvenient, but we just win the next two. And then to almost lose the next game. Twice, mind you. They almost took that lead on 2 separate occasions. I'd be scared going into Barnacle and Dime zones here. You really have to consider that Agenda has adapted well enough to where Tidal can no longer be as comfortable as they were at the beginning of the set.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is kind of the final moment, right, for both teams. This, I mean, we talked about it just heading into this set as a whole. The winner of this match is going to most likely be the one that makes it into gold, and the loser is most likely going to be the one that makes it in silver, even though Agenda currently is seeded to be in gold and Tidal is currently seeded to be in silver. If Tidal can find an upset here, they can just win. Like they can just go in the gold bracket like with a lot of momentum behind them. So these are the matches that kind of determine, in my opinion, who kind of just is in the best seat heading into everything. And both teams looking to close out everything as well, I'm sure. So yeah, it's going to be quite exciting.
Going into this, curious to see if we have any comp switches. Splat Zones is a much more aggressive mode than the first two, so we might play with a little bit different. We do have the regular heavy coming out this time, not the Kraken heavy. The 52 gal Deco, very rare option in competitive. Curling Bomb and Screen. and then the Frozen Pro and the Tri Nouveau, and then Tidal Tempest sticking with the same comp. And to be fair, their comp was decently aggressive to begin with, and we could see that starting off, getting 3 picks right away.
Yeah, that 52 gal, despite kind of some of the members of their team going down around mid, they were able to still find quite a bit of value, stall out Agenda's dominance, or Tidal Tempest's dominance, my bad, and it has allowed them to kind of create this opening for their team to maybe get back in. We'll have to wait and see. Quite a few specials are going out and about. It's kind of hard to almost keep track of what's happening.
Yeah, splatter color screen will do that to you. It's definitely a lot easier for us because we can see every person's position at all times. You got to keep in mind for these players, they can't see what's behind those screens. You never know where the 52 is sharking. It really does slow your pace just because you don't want to move into territory that is ever uncleared. And when there's a screen up, anything behind that is effectively uncleared.
And Barnacle and Diamond in particular is very much a map mode about discipline. If you see what happens when you play disciplined, you can get a lot of value. And although we were seeing Agenda having quite a strong hold there, Tidal Tempest is constantly trying to find opportunities to break in. We do see this decap sharking around. They are able to trade out the heavy, not the worst trade in the world, but the rest of the team does have to get back up. This is the team that is trying to just find anything. We're seeing paint constantly go around. We're seeing them trying to grind out those specials, but if they don't get them ASAP, they're not going to get the zone back.
They couldn't. Agenda had them locked out for so long. The comp with the effectively better survivability, just from having the screen to slow down Tidal Tempest's pace, having Cooler to make sure that none of their deaths were too meaningful, having that kind of survivability to just continue a push like that makes it a lot harder to get in unless you are incredibly organized with your special usage and very organized with your positioning and communication.
And I mean, congratulations, of course, to Agenda as well. They absolutely were able to deliver, in my opinion, on what was expected of them as they were heading into this set. Of course, having the set kind of be started off on that DC is super unfortunate, but it was still highly competitive despite all of that. Both teams constantly fighting it out. That Rainmaker game in particular, I mean, on stream, we've seen so many tight Rainmaker sets and matches. So I mean, that's going to basically just do it for us, I think, here, Try, as we are closing out groups. Do you have anything you want to shout out as we look to just get into the bracket?
I think Agenda has committed to their agenda of staying based. They have made it to gold, haven't they?
I think that would have done it. Yeah, it looks like Agenda has made gold tentatively. Tidal Tempest now in silver, so congrats to Agenda for being able to find that win. So, and I'm sure Tidal Tempest will be able to get some good value out of silver too. There's definitely a lot to be had in Shark Tank as a whole. And yeah, so that's going to do it for us here on the groups set of Shark Tank Shallow Waters. Thank you all for viewing so far. I've been Omazen. You can find me over at both the CCA and Broadcast Beep. You can find me on Blue Sky at omazen.broadcastbeep.com, as you can see right there with our custom plugin. But Tri Stories, where can all the good people find you?
You can find me on at trystories.bluesky.social, but I don't really post there very often. I do stream though. I actually forgot to mention this. Alexi did ask me if I wanted to tag any other socials than my Blue Sky. Completely forgot to mention that I do have a Twitch. It should just be Tri Stories. Just at Tri Stories. And if you'd like, you can see my my team's YouTube channel. I stream on the Crystal Clovers YouTube channel too, if you want to check that out.
Awesome, awesome. And that's done it for us, everyone. Thank you so much for viewing so far. Be sure to stay tuned for Gold Bracket in just a few short moments, and have a good rest of your day.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Do you want me to open?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Alright, welcome back everyone to Shark Tank Shallow Waters Homeland Edition Gold Bracket. We'll be starting pretty soon with the first round here, and once the maps are uploaded, we will start talking about them.
So excited. It's going to be a very interesting set. I'm looking forward to it.
And right now, it's looking like the teams we will be looking at today are Sub-Zero and All-Star Risk. There is a pretty big seed difference here, so I'm excited to see how these rounds are going to play out, as Sub-Zero is seed 2 and All-Star is at 17. So I'm excited to see how the first round is going to go on Umami Zones, as this can be a pretty snowbally map if a team gets stuck in their own base here. So I'm excited to see what weapons they will be playing.
Backlines are very strong here, especially on that dome. If you can take early advantage and get on their dome and just hold that area, it's really hard for them to push back, especially on zones since there's not a lot of area to paint for special around. They're gonna have to be players.
Most definitely. Yeah. Are you excited to see any specific weapons? Because recently I've been seeing a lot of dynamos and bows, but during the past couple matches we've seen earlier during rounds, we haven't seen much cooler comps or bows coming out as we saw on the previous Shark Tank on Monday.
I am not sure. Like, a dynamo is good here and a bow are also good here, but there's just a lot of things. I feel like a tent could be kind of interesting here. If someone pulls out a tent, I'd be pretty hyped. I'm a fan of tent, but yeah.
I've seen a lot of tents really enjoy Umami just because of how how divided this map can be during especially the beginning fights, since it's such a divided push at the beginning just to make sure you can get those zones capped right at the beginning, as if you try to just cap one, you will probably end up getting flanked by the opposite team going to the opposite zone. And it's just mostly, you have to make sure you're constantly aware of who is going to be where, since this is a pretty wide map where any flanks can automatically just push you out and automatically get a wipeout, most likely, if you aren't paying attention.
100% awareness is going to be extremely vital here. If you pay too much attention to one side, then there's a high chance that you just lose complete control of behind on snipe and on the other zone that you're not paying attention to. So I'm very excited to see how these teams deal with flanks, if there are any, and if what weapons they will be picking for flanks if they are deciding to run that way.
Most definitely. Most recently in these past couple main bracket sets, we've seen a lot of decavs, so I'm excited to see if in these brackets we're going to see a lot of decavs, or if it's going to be more so of a different midline coming up around, like either a bucket or a heavy kind of popping up, making sure that we're going to see maybe a less of a cooler comp, or if it's going to be more of the more meta that we see in higher level comps of just a regular pen and like a V shot kind of just running around. So I'm excited to see what these teams kind of have in difference of each other.
The Cavitator would go crazy here. I don't know how. It's a very difficult weapon to push out, especially in these tight corners and small subsections through this map. They can take a lot of space very easily without really disregarding kind of basically what the rest of their team is doing. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they're Cavs. A bucket would be. I wouldn't be surprised by a bucket, but Bucket doesn't really have any extreme niche due to how flat the map is overall, but the strikes and the splat bomb really just kind of fill every possible combination. I don't think there's been a time in Splatoon 3 where Bucket's been bad, so.
Absolutely.
Bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen buckets plenty of times. Decavs getting pushed up into lower levels has been a great thing to see, since not a lot of bubbles have been played in higher levels. So I'm really happy to see a lot of lower Sub-Zero was taking advantage of how they can move around with a bubble and kind of take and push their advantage in these especially tight corners that Umami has, and just make sure that they can keep their advantage up as much as they can with the bubble, and make sure they can protect their backlines if possible as well.
Mm-hmm. Bubble's always been interesting to me. I love the kind of rock paper scissors it introduces, and getting started now. So let's see what the comps are. Bucket, Stamper, Leader, Zap, and Forge Pro, Gal, Wiper, Head It. No decav, one bucket, a lot of range, a lot of good bit of paint. So, that Leader with RP is going to be careful to watch out. Early take on right zone, but 3 from All-Star Risk fighting up on right, holding right zone very strongly. Going to be difficult to push out.
Yeah, starting out here, it's looking like All-Star is taking what I was mentioning earlier, how they were all pointing towards right side instead of dividing up and trying to get into mid-spine as fast as possible, which resulted in them going down on a pick from the left. But it does not matter because they get a pick down on Sub-Zero and they take the zone as fast as possible. But it is looking like Sub-Zero is wanting to take it right back with that Zap going crazy in, getting a pick and automatically capping that zone with their high paint output.
Mm-hmm. We're watching the constant flipping where it's very difficult to control each zone if you don't have extreme control, where someone from Zap capped left zone, capped right zone, but by the time they had capped right zone, left zone, and swapped again. Booyah coming up, right zone capped, just fight for dominance here. Nobody's gotten any super influential plays yet, but there might be ones coming soon with 2 down from All-Star.
Yeah, with 2 down here, they finally are able to get the zone on Sub-Zero's side. That Zap getting in like an all-time workout on just making sure they can at least keep one of those zones capped while All-Star was getting the other side, which finally at least let them able to get the lead here and actually get their final output here. But it does go 2 down onto Sub-Zero with their specials getting put out here. So it's looking like the zone will be flipped back into All-Star here.
That was a beautiful double from the Booyah, but unfortunately the Pro was not able to get much value out of that, being taken down by the Zap right away. But with the Leader fighting up and holding right, there's not much space that All-Star can handle right now, and the strikes are pushing them either further back. I don't know how they'll be able to handle here, but let's see what they do.
Yeah, it's looking like an unfortunate pick from on All-Star's side goes down, so it's looking like 2 down on both teams here. So it's kind of like at a stalemate for zones here. Well, neither team has an advantage at the moment because the points are just so close with even a less than a 10-point lead. So it's looking like they're just going to be constantly just fighting in mid for this zone cap, which is kind of crazy because that edit gets a pick on the bucket, which is a great push, and it's looking like Sub-Zero is trying to get a booyah just so they can keep that mid section here. But they're still fighting for zone here, and they need to figure out if they can either get a special to push this zone in, or if there's going to be a kill count that gets the zone capped. And it's looking like All-Star manages to get that kill down, but they are also 2 down at this point, so it's looking like Sub-Zero will be able to kind of get a push in here.
Mm-hmm. That Wiper's doing a really good job of stalling out fights, allowing the rest of All-Star to take up and fight the spots where people are not watching. The All-Star does need to fight up a little bit faster if they want to be able to take down this Leader. They've had a lot of very easy control, and there's not been a lot of... Whoa, 3 down from All-Star. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. That's a really good opportunity from Sub-Zero now. If they can fight up with a special, maybe.
Yeah, Sub-Zero is definitely taking this advantage as much as they can, keeping on that left side of zone, and that Leader is finally up in mid, which is right where they need to be, and they will automatically get somebody if they are going to be going in that pit, which they get called out, so that person had to jump out, which is going to let Sub-Zero get even more points ticked out. A Booyah Bomb does get pulled out, and All-Star is trying to get in a push here, and gets 2 down on Sub-Zero and automatically recaps the zone, as Sub-Zero now has to fight for the attack and get All-Star back into mid and take back their place.
That hammer from the Wiper allowed the Pro to fight up, and that was beautiful. They moved really fast. They moved really they had purpose with what they were trying to do, and they were able to push Sub-Zero out very quickly. They're holding the zone. 3 down from All-Star once more, so they won't be able to get lead, but they have shrunk the gap between the points. So once again, on the leader gets another crazy pick. This is crazy.
Yeah, that leader is definitely right where they want to be, and they're even getting a little bit more excited as they're trying to keep up the momentum here. Constantly looking to see if there's anyone in pit. That Booyah Bomb is definitely going to be trying to get that leader out of position, while that Stamp is going to get the leader, not the leader, the Zap actually. And that's just making
Beautiful
sure that they
too.
go 2 down for Sub-Zero, and all-Star is going to have to fight in their own in their enemy base here just to make sure they can get the overturn of a lead in overtime, which is going to be incredibly hard as Sub-Zero is going to be pushing out the specials as much as they can to even stall zone.
The strikes and the stamper capping left zone are that's as a delayed 3 wipe. Sorry, I cannot formulate sentences, and that is a incredible comeback from our all-star from a kind of not rough start. It was a very even start, but not much was able to happen, and they just kind of were able to bring it back. Beautiful, very well done.
Yeah, it was well done that on the side of Sub-Zero, one of the weapons went and tried to get a stall cap on the left side of zone, but immediately gets called out by 2 people on All-Star, which unfortunately gets them at a numbers disadvantage in overtime, which unfortunately leads to more special buildup for All-Stars, which unfortunately just makes sure that they kind of secured that lead as Sub-Zero was locked in their own base at this moment by turf output.
100%. There wasn't much they could do. They were able to move with the strikes, and oh my god, I can't believe that. It was very close, but they just, in the end, All-Star was just able to push them out just in the nick of time before they could cap, and just the little bit extra paint that they had, and the strikes, being able to paint over the strikes was very just beneficial.
Definitely, and I'm really pleased to see how well All-Star is timing their specials together. As you could see near the end, they timed that Booyah and Stamp coordinately to make sure they could push their supports out of mid so they could push in and cap the zone, as well as keep that aggressive Stamp pushing in to make sure that the opposite team could get pushed out as well. So it was just an automatic switch that All-Star could push in automatically with that special output.
100%. That hammer was incredibly difficult to deal with due to the lack of weapons that could consistently counter that hammer. The pressure against that leader, and against, especially at the end when they were able to get almost 3, including the leader, and that's what kind of secured their ability to hold at the final stage, was just very good. I was impressed to see that.
Yeah, being confident on leader on that map is a special feat, as a pen person, Umami can be a bit tricky on times, as if there's an edit on the opposite team, it can be a bit of an uphill battle trying to get that paint output as advantageous as it can be. But as a leader having so many paint advantages on their team, I don't think they really had to pay in mind their own output, as they just had to focus on kills, which they exactly did.
I agree. And as we're coming into Rainmaker Scorch Gorge, we have very similar comps. I am not perceiving a change, so hopefully.
There is actually a small change on All-Star, which is a pro coming out for missiles time. So I'm excited to see how fast they're going to get these missiles out, and if they're going to be targeting anything specific here. As when I play missiles, I typically try to specifically target the backline here. So this pro might actually be trying to push that leader back even more so they can get more of a quicker push.
The missiles are definitely going to help with the leader a lot, allowing them to get into more vital positions without the leader just pointing that domineering laser at them. 1 down to hammer and missile. Wiper fighting up on right with I think the gal. They pop hammer. They are stuck on a block.
Are stuck on a wall here.
Hammer of Doom got stuck in everything in the way. Really unfortunate, but still were able to hold space, and now they are able to get a push out of the value.
Yeah, unfortunate Stamper here, but it did manage to at least get a small start pushed up here for All-Star. But that leader is absolutely looking for a fight and trying to get a back pick for this Rainmaker here. And that's 2 down, and that push kind of ending for All-Star here. So I'm wondering if Sub-Zero is just going to take them more smaller and lenient way on just taking mid back as slow as possible, or gonna be just hitting the ground running. And it is kind of looking like they're just gonna be patiently waiting for somebody to drop instead of just absolutely just doing a special spam.
Hmm. And that wiper on the fast flank did not work. That was able to get the leader, but unfortunately that led to them going 3 down. So Sub-Zero has an opportunity here. If they can capitalize on it, they could lead to them pushing into a ball, which will be very hard for All-Star to push them out of. Wiper playing aggro by the check, trying to get a pick on the rain. Succeeds, but still 3 down on All-Star once again.
Most definitely, and it does look like Sub-Zero does manage to get the checkpoint. It was an advantage that they did have Booyah Bomb just to protect and pop that checkpoint once again after the strikes weren't as properly handled as they could have been. But it's looking like it's going to be a much closer fight than it should be. But it's looking like All-Star has a lot of turf to paint up and just even get into mid now. So I'm wondering how they're going to go if they actually don't mind to pick up the Rainmaker and lose even more points because of that.
Mm-hmm. It really is anybody's game. Sub-Zero has strong control over mid, but if they can just pop a special and move that leader out, it's going to be a lot easier for maybe never mind. The leader gets a very good pick on the Gal. A lot of their fighting power is now diminished. The best they can kind of do right now is hold, unless the Wiper can get a flank and get a lot of value out of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Stamp is trying to get a fight into pit, and they do get the other Stamper here to go down onto Sub-Zero here, and it's looking like All-Star is trying to go for that push after two do go down for Sub-Zero. And they're absolutely fighting back. Yeah, they're fighting back as fast as they can.
Mm-hmm. Although Sub-Zero has popped and is forcing them to back up with the Booyah, and now the Headed is all the way back with the Wiper and the the Stamper, I believe, fighting them fast. They die, but they have cooler, so it's not the end of the world, but still, it's going to be, they lost a lot of ground there due to the 2 down.
Yeah, it's looking like whenever All-Star does push and get at least a semblance of a piece of the enemy's base, a Sub-Zero just goes back in tenfold with their turf paint and just locks them out into mid, so they are ensuring that they can at least keep that confidence in the leader to get picks into mid as much as they can. So I'm really waiting to see if that special output on All-Star is going to come out with the missiles becoming a bit more aggressive here, and the whales coming in just to make sure that the edit can at least kind of push in as much as they can as well.
100%. This map is much more attributed to leader than Umami. They're able to have a lot more sight lines, and it's a lot harder for All-Star to profit with the leader always watching them. So with the Wiper having hammer, we can see if they might try something with that, and they do, but it's immediately punished, and once again it's 2 down for All-Star, maybe 3. 3 down. 4. That's a wipeout.
And that's looking like a wipeout for All-Star. Sub-Zero is just keeping up the pace with the turf and the aggressiveness. That leader is in the spot where they need to be on Greats on left. They're just keeping that confidence. And are they stalling Rainmaker here on left? They were.
Of course, that needs to be a Rainmaker free zone. Oh my god! My team does that too. It makes me a little bit mad, but it works. So whatever wins you the game. But it's 1-1. All-Star was not able to keep the momentum going, but we got to a game 3, so I'm happy to see that. I love a game 3.
Yeah, I'm loving. Granted, these games are really close, which I'm really happy to see. Granted, the seed difference here. I'm super excited to see how Clams is going to go, since it's looking like Sub-Zero does have more of that turf advantage, which isn't that big of a deal on Crowdlight since there's so much grades that leader can go onto. So I'm really excited to see if they're going to keep the edits, since that leader is definitely going to have so many places to go and just automatically get picks from. So I'm really wondering if they're going to change up the comp at least a little bit, just to make sure they can kind of single out that leader as much as they can, or if they're just going to continue the comp and just try and see if they can at least get more specials output and kind of just keep up the clam economy up a bit more as well.
I would not be surprised if we saw a somewhat major comp change, because their comp has very little to deal with that leader other than the occasional hammer throw or the missiles. But other than that, there's nothing that we can kill. They can kill the leader with consistently. So it's going to be really hard, especially on this map with the like the large open areas and the sight lines that the leader can have in certain. Oh my god, I can't talk. It's just going to be. I would not be surprised, but they seem to be very confident in their comp with the pro gal headed.
Yeah, definitely.
Wiper.
Yeah, as somebody who plays with a leader, it's something that they have that confidence in. They want to be able to get those shots. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to play onto Crab Leg here with Clams.
Mm-hmm. All-Star Sub-Zero sticks with the same comp, and so does All-Star, continuing to have the throw pro with the missile, and they stick the head it, hoping to keep the cooler output up. That Wiper and the Gal are gonna have a little bit of a harder time against that leader here, but it's
Yeah,
also
that
they're
leader,
also
that leader is absolutely just gunning it for the greats and manages to get a
Mhm.
pick and is looking to get another one. Is super bloodthirsty just to make sure they can keep up this pressure and have the bucket and zap going in as much as they can. That they have the mid turf advantage here, but it's looking like they're just kind of scrapping from mid here as one does go down for All-Star.
You call that leader a shark in a tank, maybe. The bucket under left with the strikes, and there's one down from All-Star, so there's a lot that Sub-Zero can do now. So it's just kind of a waiting game to see if they have the clams and the ability to do it. The Wiper drops left, killing the Blotcher with no more strikes. That's going to be a little bit harder, but they do have 2 clams.
Yeah, it does look like on the side of Clam Economy, Sub-Zero does have a lot in their hands, while All-Star does not. And it's looking like if they can just at least get that leader up and getting a pick, they can at least get up on ramp and just at least get a final push here. But a Stamp does come out and get a pick on somebody holding the clams, but the Stamp does go down. So that is 2 for All-Star going down while the leader is up and gets a pick on the Greats. So that is definitely a push that is going to be happening for Sub-Zero here. And they managed to pop the basket open.
And the leader gets another pick, just able to hold top right very, very strongly. They're able to just funnel more clams in with not much ability to push the leader out. A Booyah coming out, another pick from the leader, another pick from a flow state from the leader.
Somebody needs
Very
to stop
impressive.
that leader. That they're going up on fire here, and you don't want a leader that has aura because that is way too much of a dangerous game. You should not be playing.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. And 3 down from All-Star again. This could be a KO if Sub-Zero's able to play this right. They have the clams. They
Do.
there it is.
It's
Oh
an
my god.
automatic wipeout. That leader was going absolutely crazy on top right grades. It was absolutely getting as much picks just so their teammates could go out, get more clams, and just keep on funneling them into basket. That was a very hard game for All-Star to try and combat with that leader being as confident as they were.
Exactly. That is an incredibly hard map without a leader that can kill you from across the map. So especially when a leader is that good, there's not much you can do without a very secure way to push them out of position. So very well played by both teams. This was a very good set. Very close games, especially with the seed difference in mind. Just very impressively done by All-Star and very impressively done by Sub-Zero.
Yeah, congrats to both teams for getting back to gold bracket, and up soon we'll be going up to semi, so we'll be back for them. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are in gold bracket semis here, and starting out, we will be looking at two teams that have been in the mic before. Two teams that were streamed already in regular bracket sets. We have Sunstrike and Agenda, so we're going to be staying based here with both teams already being shown. We already know the drills for both of them, so I'm really excited to see how both of them are going to be playing against each other, since both the times they did play against their opposite teammates, they automatically got a clean 2-0. So I'm really excited to see if it's going to be more of an upset for either of them, or if it's going to be more of a one-on-one situation where it's going to be up to the final game to see who's going to win.
Very excited to watch this set. These two teams played very well in their own sets, and I'm very curious to see how they'll play against each other.
Starting out here, it's looking like Barnacle and Dime Zone. So one of the maps I particularly enjoy playing as a pencil player, just because I get to have so much range on it, and it's one of the favorite zone maps that I like to play. So I'm really excited to see, as neither of them have pens, who's going to be more aggressive here, as they tend to play both pretty aggressive. So I'm excited to see if one of them is going to be either more passive while they're going to try to keep up the turf advantage, or if they're just going to both continuously just kind of like dogpile on each other, like they did on most of the other games they had.
100%. It's going to be. I'm very excited to see. From what I was unable to watch the first two sets, but I've heard that these two are two aggro teams. So I'm excited to see how they fight against each other, and this is going to be a very interesting set. I'm very excited, and the map very tweaked themselves to their aggro comps, I think.
Oh, most definitely, and oh my gosh, it's very exciting to see how this is going to look, since both Sunstrike and Agenda were having a grand time in both of their sets, as all of them were pretty close-minded while they were also winning all of their games. So I'm excited to see if there's going to be more of an upset, as Sunstrike is seed 21 compared to Agenda being seed 6. So congratulations to Sunstrike getting to gold bracket here, granted the seed difference here. So I'm super excited to see how this is going to go, since last game on round 1 of gold bracket being a huge seed difference, we saw an upset finally happen. So I wonder if there's going to be anything super crazy happening in these games.
I would not be surprised, since Strike has proven himself to be very strong against those teams who have been seeded higher than them. Agenda is a very strong team. There's several very strong teams, and Barnacle, I think, will suit them well. I'm excited. I don't know if I said that yet before.
Yeah, most definitely. And at the moment, we're just waiting to see, as they're getting in the rooms, setting up, so we can finally at least spec them. At the moment, we're just super excited to see how they're going to play against each other, as, like I mentioned, they're super close in the combat, and as one of them does have more of a turf advantage, as Agenda does tend to play a bit more paint aggressive than actually weapon advantage. I'm super excited to see how they're actually going to fight each other, and if they're going to keep that turf advantage up on Barnacle, since that turf advantage on the plat and ramp here is such a huge thing to have, as if you get locked out during that point, it is incredibly hard for your backline to get pushed in, and specials being used is just an automatic lockout for the time being. So at that moment, it's just who has the better specials to get that lockout into a better place.
100%. Once you have that plat, it's really hard to push. Once the other team has that plat, it's incredibly difficult to push back in. There's not many sight lines. So it's really just going to be a game of who can move faster and who can get specials and use them the best.
Oh yes, and Shadow Dragon for in the comments, we are super excited to see how Sub-Zero and Straw Hats will be going. So we're excited to see how they're going to go, since those two are super close in seeds. So we'll see who ends up being into finals and who gets put into the third place match. So at the moment, we're just kind of just letting them fight between those two close seeds, as we tend to like the more farther seeds being how we can get if we can get an upset kind of happen, and kind of just see how it can be like kind of super fun and exciting to watch.
Yes. The upsets are close games, or I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry. Lost my train of thought immediately.
Most definitely, we're super I'm super thrilled to see how these teams are going. But like I said, at the moment, we're just waiting to see when they're gonna open the room so we can hop on it and see when we can hop and like see how they're gonna fight. Cause we talk about a map for so long without repeating a lot of things. So hopefully that room kind of pops up as soon as possible.
I agree. That's kind of another thing to say. I'm not that creative either, so I don't really know. Can't really talk about the game that much. But so I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm excited for the set. I think it's gonna be very interesting. These maps, these comps, these teams. It's all just they mesh together in a way that I'm excited to see.
Yeah, it's looking like we're finally allowed to be entering the room. So they're getting set up here. So any moment now we will be starting the semis here with Agenda and Sunstrike. So just be a little bit patient while they're setting up and joining the room, and we'll automatically get the game going as fast as possible.
You asked me this question before the set prior to this, and I'm going to ask it to you now. Are there any weapons that you're excited to see going into this one that you may have seen previously from the sets that you watched or streamed prior?
Oh, definitely. I've been seeing a lot of not as like colorless comps, but I've been seeing a lot of less pen comps. So both of these teams actually don't use pen. So I'm super excited to see if they're going to keep the penless comp, and if they're going to be keeping more of that dynamo or the edit, and make sure if they're going to make sure they keep that aggressiveness happening if they don't have that more stronger of a backline presence.
100%. The lack of a backline, especially on Barnacle, is very. If it's one-sided, it's a very difficult fight. But if neither team have a strong backline that can hold enough space, it becomes a lot closer games. There's a lot less area that can be held from a long range, and there's a lot more that one team can do to fight back against the aforementioned backline. So a Dynamo here is able to hold a lot of from plat. They can hold most of mid, and from the plat facing the spawning area, they can force out a lot of people who may be trying to rush them down. And an edit can do a similar thing, but less AoE and more killing them with their fast gun.
Definitely. It is very interesting to see how Homeland Edition is actually having a complete different weapon speculation than how regular Shark Tank Shallow Waters had on Monday, as all of the weapons that we saw on Monday's cast was only there was only bows and dynamos, and every single finals match only had dynamos and bows. So it's really fun to see that we're switching it up here and making sure that we don't kind of just keep that kind of same weapon comps in mind. So I'm wondering if these teams are going to kind of switch it up as well and kind of have a fun time while they're also competing for semis.
Variety is always making the game sweeter. I love to see a random freak pick. Makes me happy every time. I'm excited to see what they pull out, if they change anything from the prior sets or if they stick to what's tried and true. Excited. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Welsh train here, even though it is zones but not Rainmaker, because bows here are very good. I don't really know if anybody on these teams plays bows or not. So we will see as the game starts on Spot Zone's Barnacle.
All right, starting out here, we see a B Charger coming out here versus a Hydra. So these teams definitely changed their weapon comps since we've last seen them. Oh my gosh, wow. This is
Hydra can hold a lot of space.
Hydra coming out is something I was not expecting, but one already goes down for Sunstrike here. Two go down for Sunstrike, and Agenda is pushing in, and that Hydra is getting up on plat and painting as much as they can.
Just the range and the pressure from that Hydra is going to make it very difficult for Sunstrike to do much, especially with the V Charger, the vac being able to be filled by most of the weapons here on Agenda's side. So missiles come out, locating the 3 on top left. So it's going to be hard for the Charger to get value, but one does go down, so if Sunstrike can make a move off of this dead gal, that's going to be very beneficial towards them, because the clock's already hit 50.
The Charger does manage to get a pick and gets pushed into their own plat, and it is the switch going up for Sunstrike while that Blaster is coming into the opposite team's plat and getting as aggressive as they can, splashing down and getting a pick while that Booyah Bomb is coming more for in a defense position than actual offense. And that Hydra's just trying in to get that turf advantage back into their own zone here. And Sunstrike is keeping that plat as aggressive as possible, but 2 go down and a string comes out for Agenda. And they're keeping that push up as strong as possible, making sure that they can keep this as advantageous as they can.
Sunstrike moved really fast, but Agenda's Hydra was able to stay calm and just let them walk into them. It was very well done. So we're gonna see if this Hydra's gonna try to do the same thing with a Reef Slider potentially coming out in zone, or when they're jumping out. So again, Agenda's just holding Sunstrike's plat, so it's gonna be very difficult unless the Charger can get another pick like last time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking that Hydra has a really calm motto of keep calm and Booyah on, because the amount of Booyahs that Hydra is pushing out is crazy. And they're just managing to keep that turf output on the zone, even with the back coming out for Sunstrike. They just keep that aggressive push with that Hydra being able to paint and cover up for that try. And that is a automatic win knockout for Agenda.
100%. That Hydra was able to just hold so much area, and Sunstrike really had no answer for it. And on top of that, the rest of the team was able to play off of that pressure and play calm when they needed to, and just let the team walk into them. So that was just really well done from both sides, but especially from Agenda.
Definitely. And coming up, it is looking like Rainmaker Humpback, which is everyone's favorite Rainmaker map.
Yay!
I'm obviously lying. I hate that map as a pencil player. That map can actually burn in a fiery pit. I hate it so much. But I know that Hydra is most definitely, if they keep it, they're gonna be thriving on that map, as that is this Flatling's heaven, most definitely. And they having that Tri-Slosher as well. I have a Tri-Slosher friend. They love playing Tri-Slosher on that map, as the bumps and hills are super fun for a bucket to have. So I'm wondering if Sunstrike is actually going to keep or change their comp, since Charger is not really as advantageous on Humpback as it was on Barnacle and Dime.
Agenda's comp 100% does really well on Humpback. This is gonna be. I'm very excited to see what Sunstrike changes, if anything, if they just rely on their ability to run that comp well against this Hydra, or if they try to switch it up and do something to counter that Hydra more efficiently. But this might be a tough game for them, depending on how their comp is, just because of how well Agenda can do on this map if they play it well.
Absolutely, and getting that first checkpoint on Elbow is so important. So I'm wondering if there's going to be any special outputs that they're planning on using. It was looking like Sunstrike, once that Blaster was able to get pushed in, they were getting some pretty good picks. So I'm wondering if they're going to try and get more turf advantage for Sunstrike, so that Blaster can be a bit more aggressive than they usually want to be.
That Blaster was able to get a lot of value last game, and they stick with the Charger. That is stick Charger, very, very long range. Not as much fighting on Agenda's side now. They're going to rely a lot on stalling. But
It's looking like Agenda pulled out a back 96 though, instead of a screen gal. So I'm wondering if they're gonna play more of just the more stalling, and so they can just keep that turf advantage as much as they can. As it does look like Sunstrike once again doesn't have as much turf for that Blaster to move around. As we can see, that Blaster is just struggling to at least get into mid to get picks, because there is no turf for him to move.
It's very, very difficult. Good double, or not double, never mind, they didn't hit the direct, but it was very close. Good kill on the Vac that was able to stop them walking, but Agenda, delayed wipe, was able to get checked very, very quickly, and there's not much that Sunstrike can do, but that is a good 2 kills coming out with a splashdown to secure the area, and the Blaster just continues to walk, trying to get more and more out of this.
Yeah, definitely. That was a great defense on Sunstrike's part, because they weren't even able to get checkpoint during that, because the turf was not painted for them to get up onto the check. That Blaster is sharking here, just trying to get as much kills as they can, but they get checked on left because they weren't confident on right side. But it does look like they get shut down pretty quickly by Agenda, as they get finally noticed by Rainmaker. and
Mhm.
keeping that right side on is just automatically gonna get Agenda to get onto that check. Actually, no, I lied. Back did not do its job there, and it does look like Sunstrike is pretty quick to shut that down as fast as possible.
Agenda needed to move a little bit faster because that when Agenda pushed left, they had a prime opportunity to get check, but they took a little bit too long to get there, and Sunstrike was able to regroup and force them back out of there, and the vac was able to be filled before it could successfully aid in the checkpoint grabbing. But
Yeah.
Sunstrike is running up red again with a strike, with specials to back it up.
Yeah, it's looking like the Blaster is finally having enough turf to move around, but that, oh my gosh,
Dear
15
God.
points. That is going to be a crazy push that Agenda is going to have to retake to get as much points as they can. That Blaster is trying to get in for a flank on left here, but it's looking like he's getting noticed here. I wonder if he's going to keep on trying to push that. He does keep it, and now he has Aura. So I'm wondering if he's going to try and keep that push as much as possible so his teammates can at least get that Rainmaker
Continues
back
killing.
up as much as possible.
Unfortunately dies when jumping, but the Hydra was able, and the Hydra is able to regroup. But Sunstrike still has the control of the vast majority of mid, and there's little that Agenda can do right now without a special. That Blaster is going to be something that they really have to deal with, because if they keep letting them get behind and get consistent doubles or triples, it's going to be very, very hard for them to push up against that.
Yeah, definitely. With the amount of turf advantage Sunstrike has right now, it's going to be really hard for Agenda to push up here. But to go down for Sunstrike, and Agenda is looking like they're getting set up here for a push to finally get past that checkpoint. But it's looking like the Hydra is actually being a bit paranoid and doesn't pick up. So it's looking like their other shooter has to pick it up as well. But that Charger is setting up as much as possible to make sure they can shut this checkpoint down as fast as possible.
And
it does
Agenda
not
finally
happen.
gets check.
They finally get
After-
checkpoint in with a
for
minute and a
perfect
half
time.
left.
Can they continue to profit off this push? Sunstrike was one down, but now Agenda is one down, so it's going to be hard. The Booyah kills the Charger, so there's a lot, not as much stalling, but the Hydra does go down, and they're two down from Agenda, and they're losing mid fast, so it's going to be hard for them to profit off of this.
Yeah, Sunstrike does have that Blaster into position here, and it's looking like they do have mid advantage here as well. And Agenda needs to keep up that turf because at the moment that Blaster is getting so much advantage because that Frozen completely flipped from last game where they're just keeping up that turf as much as possible. And Agenda is 3 down, so Sunstrike is going in as fast as possible to keep up that advantage. With only 15 seconds left, Agenda is going to be needing to push out those specials as fast as possible so they can retake mid or do a crazy flank just so they can possibly get something out of this.
With less than a minute left, Agenda is going to have to pull something out crazy, but with one going down, they're losing opportunities. It's almost down to 32 down, 3 down, and the Hydra is being pushed fast. There's a lot of paint. They're just kind of stalling it right now. Agenda really needs to pull out something quick if they want to take this game back. There might not be enough time, but the game's never over until it's over.
It is a very particular spot that the Rainmaker was kind of just stalling into mid, as mid can go very, very 50-50 so quick, and it does go to Agenda getting that turf up. So it's going to be looking like we will be going into overtime here as the Blaster goes down for Sunstrike, and there's 2 specials up with a back ready on the hand. So it's going to be an overtime push, seeing if they can get in as much as possible. But a Reach Slider comes in, and they lose
Is that a
the
quad?
Rainmaker. They did get a quad with Reef.
Oh
yes.
my god, that's lovely. Game-winning quad is very impressive. Very well played by both teams. Agenda was holding out for a very long time, but Sunstrike, that Reef Slider push to 15 was just that. I really don't know how else they could have fought back against that, and then being able to hold mid for the final minute of the game was very, very beneficial. That was just really impressively done.
Yeah, the Sunstrike just was managing their turf output as well as they could with that Blaster getting so many well-timed picks on the Hydra and Pro, as their Tri-Slosher was struggling to move around even as they can paint their own feet. They just tended to kind of push out as farther as they could have been going, so they ended up going down a bunch than they should have been going. So Sunstrike was definitely taking their advantage in numbers and turf to make sure they can keep up the advantage and pressure.
The lack of coolers definitely was hard for Agenda. They were unable to play as aggro as they wanted to because the try kept getting picked out at inopportune moments. we predicted wrong. We anticipated a comp change and for Agenda to prosper very well on that map, but Sunstrike just completely denied expectations and did that was very beautifully done.
Yeah, definitely. I was expecting a comp switch, but that Charger was completely confident in their ability on humpback, which I give them kudos. I switched to edit on humpback because I don't like playing pen. So I give them a huge kudos for sticking on to Charger here. But it is looking like Inkblot is coming up here. So I'm wondering if there is going to be a comp change or if they're just consistently sticking to that back just so they can keep these pushes pretty advantageous for them and that blaster to get in as much as they can onto the enemy team's bats.
100%. If it didn't swap last game, I'm not expecting a swap this game, and there isn't again, but let's and still very minimal swap. I think the Gal changed back to pro and
The 96 switched to 52.
Huh. Intriguing.
Yeah,
well,
definitely some minor switch ups, but I think a Gal might be what they need to keep up that more aggressiveness and also have that push output. As we can see, Agenda is already getting close to Sunstrike's base, but they don't have any clams, so that Gal is definitely where they want to be with that aggressiveness. They have the clams that they need. That Hydra's already up onto right stacks. It's kind of going crazy, but the Hydra does go down, unfortunately, so they're pushing back here. And Sunstrike is definitely pushing that in, and they get a pick on the Pro, but goes down.
Very good cancel on the missiles.
Yeah.
The Gal is definitely helping with their fighting power. They're able to hold and kill and have areas to themselves a lot more easily now with... I don't even know what happened. That was just like a flash of light and everyone died.
I think that was an accidental ink pop because the Gal scared them so bad. I'm not too sure. But
It's a...
the accidental back pop, but that does leave Sunstrike to get mid advantage here as Agenda is down a teammate and so is Sunstrike getting respawn. But it's looking like they're both just fighting for mid and keeping up clan economy, as it does look like Agenda has a bit more clams than Sunstrike, so there's going to be a little bit more fights that need to happen so Sunstrike can get more clams into their arsenal.
That Hydra went down, but Sunstrike was unable to profit off of it, and the Chargers has been chilling on top right, waiting for the Hydra to peak for ability, but now they've been forced out. This is a very, very close game. It's all just hinging on who can get an opportunity with the clams fastest, and it looks like Agenda might have that now with a Booyah and Paint and a clam, but with the blast striking on their left and fighting the Hydra, that ability might be disappearing.
Oh, and the back does get a quad, but it looks like they managed to break the basket. Agenda does, but it's looking like it is an immediate shutdown on Agenda's push here as Sunstrike immediately gets 3 down on Agenda's side. That Hydra pushing back as much as they can because they do not want to fight that as if they want to just keep on living. So they're just keeping up that pain, probably just farming for another Booyah because once again, keep calm, Booyah on. So they're just trying to fight the Charger. They win the fight. That's a crazy pick on Agenda's side here. But at the moment, they just constantly are having this fight. Is that a flank happening?
A flank in the bats to a lead with splashdown and more clamps to come. If they'll have mid control, but another goes down on the side of Agenda, and Sunstrike is just has complete control of their spawn now, and this could be difficult for Agenda to push them out.
Yeah, getting that flank onto Agenda's plat is an incredibly awesome thing to happen, as the Hydra didn't notice it. So it's like, what happened there? What happened, Hydra? Why weren't you paying attention for it? And it's super crazy. The Hydra gets shut down. It's kind of like karma for not paying attention. That Gal is going super crazy right now. But, oh my gosh.
In the spawn.
Sunstrike
this could be another opportunity for Sunstrike. Trades out the pro. But the Gal is fighting up and dies. Unfortunate, 2 down from Agenda. Can Sunstrike profit off of this once more?
The Hydra does unfortunately shut down the blaster. 2 down do go down for Sunstrike, and it's just Agenda needs to keep up their turf here because oh my goodness, that their bats are still pretty yellow in my opinion, but they have the balls, they have the confidence. They just need to get in as much as they can. 2 go down on Agenda's side though, so they lose the ball in enemy's turf here, so I'm wondering if they're going to manage to at least pick it up or they have to leave just so they can at least stay alive. And it does look like that's end up happening. Don't know what the
Hydra's
Hydra was
fighting
doing
up.
there.
Scores one
Not
clam.
sure. Awesome,
Uh,
amazing. They
Wipe out
they get the
for
lead though.
Sunstrike. Oh, they do get lead, but Sunstrike has wiped them out and now has a lot of control and quite a few clams to back it up with one ball forming soon. And
Yeah,
that
and
to
another one
bathe the
coming
floor.
in. Yeah. Sunstrike is definitely going in as fast as possible.
Lethal
Oh my
likely be
gosh.
secured.
I
Two
wonder
down
if
from
anyone's gonna
Agenda.
come out and get that pity just so they can cause even more chaos. Missiles do come out
They
and
do grab
paint
the pity.
the enemy's base. It does look like somebody is trying to get a flank onto left side of the charger, but two go down for Sunstrike, so it's looking like they're kind of having to leave here.
Try versus the Charger 1v1, just trying to hold area and not die. They try to grab the clan, but get shut down immediately. Unfortunate, and there's not much time, so we don't know if Agenda will be able to pull it out. They're two down. They have the pity, but they do not have the paint, and they're fighting up again. The Sunstrike is fighting up again with a clam. If they can score this, it's just it's 3 down.
Yeah, it's looking like
GG's.
Sunstrike manages that Sunstrike is just managing to keep up the turf advantage as much as possible, and it's seeming like Agenda is struggling to keep up with that turf output, and it's just that with the Charger on Sunstrike getting really good picks onto their stacks is just a huge advantageous point for Sunstrike here.
That Charger is really difficult for Agenda to deal with, even with their Hydra. But so far, the games have been relatively close, but Sunstrike has just slinked through and got the win through their fast pace playing. Their ability to kill the Hydra and push off of that has been shown time and time again. So if they can just keep that up, this could be a very quick 3-1 unless Agenda swaps something up real quick.
Yeah, there was a moment where the Hydra and Charger faced off, and it was kind of funny to watch. But it's coming up to Micromart Power Control, so I'm super excited to see if that Charger's gonna keep up that aggressiveness onto their stacks and just continue ego fighting this Hydra, because we've seen what an E-leader can do on Micromart and some of the other maps. I'm excited to see how a shorter range Charger is going to go on Micromart, since it doesn't have as much range as an E-leader. I would be like super hyped if an E-leader does come out here, because I think that would be kind of funny. But they seem really confident in their E-Fag, and keeping as much confidence on a weapon that they love is probably what they're going to stick to. But I wonder if Agenda is going to try and pick a weapon that they can at least keep up turf advantage with.
Due to the Charger has been, oh my god, the Charger has been succeeding in holding a lot of area and getting a lot of crucial picks, so I would not be surprised if Agenda tries to swap something up in order to kill the Charger more consistently, but their Hydra has been putting in work. It's just been unfortunate that the Charger's been able to eagle fight them a little bit more efficiently than the Hydra's been able to eagle fight the Charger.
Definitely. I think it's just there's been some slight issues with the comms of just Agenda seems to be struggling against the turf advantage, because time and time again we see that they're just losing a bunch of turf and automatically just keep on getting stuck and losing so many points and teammates going down because of the turf. So I'm wondering, they need to at least push out like a special advantage or something, just so they can at least get that advantage up onto their side and at least get this into a game 5 push.
Yes. This is, I don't know. Sorry, let's train of thought again. Carbon
Bubble
coming
Hydra!
out.
Bubble Hydra! Oh my god!
Bubble Hydra and Zuka Carbon coming out, or Zuka Carbon the normal, but a Crab Pro as well, with a lot of special.
That is looking like the Tri-Striker Tri being already down. That Carbon is already sharking, trying to go for the pick. Unfortunately, gets shut down by the Charger. But that is 3 down for Sunstrike. So Agenda better be getting on their high horse to at least get the tower at least pushed a little bit. But they're still fighting from mid. There's still not a clear advantage on mid here, but it does look like Sunstrike manages to at least take tower here.
The Pro has been able to hold when they were 3 down. Just the Pro, they were getting Crab and able to hold area. There's a Vac now on tower. They popped it. The Blaster is just still farming them basically on right. But they do go 2 down, and the Carbon is the only one down on Agendas. So Flash drops, but is unable to stop them entirely until now.
No,
but
that
a
was
push to 40 is very difficult.
yeah, a pretty good push for Sunstrike here. That blaster and Pro keeping everyone distracted on right side while they were pushing that tower as fast as possible was such a crazy and awesome feat that Sunstrike managed to get. And that is such a long push that Agenda is going to have to retake. And they don't have any specials at the moment other than coolers, so they better be farming for some specials. But they are down on their aggressive weapon of the carbon, so they're gonna be having to fight this blaster, and it looks like they're just going to have to push back here a little bit.
The Protoss have Crab, but Sunstrike is currently 2 down, 3 down even, and Agenda has affirmed their previous mistake, and they have specials to do oh my god, they have specials to push them out with now. One has dropped left, and the Carbon's focusing it, but the Carbon
Carbon does go down here because of the
unfortunately.
splashdown. It's just, they keep on fighting on these stacks. These are some pretty, like, they're just dogpiling each other on these stacks here because of both teams having a crab. It's a crab fight on both teams. They're just wanting to shred them as fast as possible, but Sunstrike, once again, has the turf advantage, but automatically gets shut down here, so they still have that second check to go through, but they're swimmingly going through it, but they do go 3 down. So it's looking like Agenda is having to get that turf up onto their positive side here so they can at least get another push.
Just the space that Sunstrike has been able to take is just so consistently has just been able to help them so much with their pushes. Like when it panned back to them and they were on tower and the entirety of right side was painted, that is just so hard for Agenda to fight back against. But Agenda is currently fighting for first check right now, and they have cleared it, and they are currently even. But
I don't know if you see it, but there's a Carbon in the base now that got a pick and is pushing the charger back. So that the Carbon being in is a super thing. Oh, never mind. He gets shut down by the crazy charger. So that is 2 down for Agenda. But you can see that Sunstrike is just going in with the amount of turf they already have. That blaster is already in the enemy base. It's not even like a contest at this point. They just have so much turf that they're just constantly getting shut down. But it's looking like they're finally targeting one person in the back is gonna get shut down. So that is a wipeout on Sunstrike. But Agenda needs to be pushing up as fast as possible here to at least get more points onto their side.
Agenda needs to match Sunstrike's speed here. Sunstrike has just consistently moved incredibly fast, and if Agenda can move that fast, Sunstrike will have very little to answer for it because they do have 2 specials now, so they gotta be careful. And Slider comes out, 2 down from Agenda right now. Carbon goes down as well, fighting for mid, and it seems like Sunstrike has it currently.
Definitely, and it's everyone being on left side here. Crab comes out just to protect the mid space here and make sure they can't push tower as much as they can anymore. The Crab does drop, and it's still very yellow in my opinion. That blaster is already onto the snipe here. If you can notice that blaster is already picking fights, and it's looking like it might win it. In my opinion, it gets a trade, unfortunately, but it gets called out as fast as possible. So 2 down onto Agenda's side. The numbers are up on Sunstrike with only 20 seconds left. Agenda needs to at least get specials up or numbers up so they can get this game even into overtime.
With 3 specials up from Sunstrike, it's going to be very difficult for them to push back in. But if they can get the picks necessary, they can win this. But the Crab comes out and 1 down. The Slider comes out, and that is game. Unfortunately for Agenda, very well played by both teams.
A huge upset here, guys. It's a huge upset. It's looking like Sunstrike is taking the game here and will be going into finals, which is going to be even a crazier margin of seed difference, where it's going to be going against Sub-Zero, which is C2, and Sunstrike, which is C21, which will be happening soon.
Look out for that.
All right, welcome back everyone to Gold Bracket Finals. And finals today is going to be Sub-Zero versus Sunstrike. And these are two teams we've seen before in finals already, so I'm super excited to see how these teams are going to fight, as this is also a crazy upset happening in the Shark Tank Homeland Edition today, as Sub-Zero is C2 and Sunstrike is C21. How do you feel about this?
I'm very excited. I love to see an underdog story. I love to see upsets happen. Either team that wins this, I foresee this being a very close set. Both these teams are very strong, and these comps seem like they will like fight well into each other. I'm very excited.
Definitely, both of these teams fought very well against their opposing teams, so I'm super excited to see how they're going to be going on these maps coming out here, as it is counter picks happening. So I'm super excited to see what kind of maps they're like favored on, and kind of seeing what they enjoy playing, as we know that Sunstrike has a charger player. So I'm super excited to see if there's going to be any maps that they particularly enjoy playing on, as Ship Shape we see here that's going to be coming out first is a particularly not as fun map to play on charger, but as you can see, they enjoy playing charger here, so I don't think they really care at this point.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the paint coming from Strike's comp, it's gonna be very consistent and very well. It's gonna be I don't know. I'm just very excited, and there's a lot in my head right now.
Yeah, definitely. Both of these teams caught up really fast onto their opposing teams, and they both caused some pretty huge upsets. So I'm pretty excited to see how it's gonna go, especially Sunstrike keeping up as much as they can, because they are the underdog in this seed. They're keeping up as much as they can, and they're definitely fighting back as much as they can. And I'm so excited to see how they're going to fight against Sub-Zero.
Mm-hmm. I anticipate both these teams coming in very confident. I'm excited to see how they fight. I'm excited to see how the charger, how plays, and how the blaster goes. It's gonna be. I think this is gonna be a close set. I wouldn't be surprised to see a game 5.
Definitely, I would be thrilled to see a game 5 happening in finals, as most of the time it's been pretty much the opposite, where it's been pretty straight knockouts time and time again. So but both of these teams had really close games on their semis and round ones. So I'm really thrilled to see if it's going to be more of a like back and forth kind of deal, or if it's going to be one stronger than the other, and we'll get to see that pretty soon in Ship Shape here, as zone Ship Shape can be pretty lockout heavy, as many people have done it before. I've done it before, and also have been casted into a lockout, and it's not fun. You have to use specials because you can't just fight out with raw power.
100%. If someone is able to get into the top right area of spawn, it's going to be very hard to push them out, especially if they have a special to support them. And if there's a backline on the top right of mid, it's gonna be really hard to fight back against that unless you have someone that can push it out very consistently.
And we have seen that Sunstrike does have a blaster on our team, so I'm really excited to see if they're going to be pushing into the enemy team's flat and going in for crazy picks, or if they're just going to play a bit more patient, since they tend to have a lot more turf advantage in these past games they've played. So I'm excited to see if the blaster is going to play more of an aggressive shark type, or if they're going to play more of a passive and just get more combo picks with the point sensor and getting more chips with the missile spam here.
Missile spam would do really well against this comp. Especially on this map, missiles are very hard to move around with. It's because a lot of times people are just kind of forced to come together because of how the different paths are situated. So a good missiles could lead to a lot of chip damage and a lot of displacement. So it's gonna be a good. I would not be surprised to see a missiles weapon.
Definitely. They do tend to favor a Fro Pro here, which is totally biased. I love Fro Pro. It's a fun missile spam weapon, so I can't hold them off of that. I'm just wondering if they're going to keep a Ink Vac here onto Ship Shape zones, since Ink Vac can be a bit kind of like iffy on chip shape because of how many hills and like flanks that can happen with the top-down jumps from an opposing team. So I'm wondering if they're going to keep the vanilla charger, if they're going to change it.
Especially against the Stamper coming from Sub-Zero. Stamper's really good against the Charger, especially Vac. So it's going to be very, I would like that. That's going to be a probably hard matchup if they do stick with the Charger and the Stamper. So it's going to be. I'm excited to see how these teams play against each other and what strategies they use.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen in Sub-Zero's fights before that they do tend to do really well collective special combos, and we've seen that with the Forge throwing booyahs and the Stamper throwing their stamps. So I'm really excited to see if they're going to be collectively using that to their advantage against a more turf-heavy comp like Sub-Zero. So I'm kind of excited to see how Sunstrike and Sub-Zero's like special collectivity is going to happen, and like how they're going to like combat each other with this.
100%. Just how everything is gonna flow together. It's gonna be really interesting to watch. I'm happy. These are two teams that I've been on like the edge of my seat while watching. So I'm glad to see them in the finals versus each other.
Yeah, definitely. Both of these teams have brought up some crazy fights, and they've both done some really well timed fights, as well as causing some upsets like Sunstrike is doing right now. They're causing a huge upset. So I'm super proud to see both of these teams fighting so well, and I'm super and not manifesting per se, but I'm really hoping we get to see a game 5 happen here, just because these teams play super well, and I would love to see how they're going to actually adjust the fighting with each other instead of kind of happening to give up if they start losing pretty quickly.
I agree. I think we'll be going into the game relatively soon on ship shape zones. So we'll be able. I'm curious to see what openings and if if they do change the comps to adjust to what the other team is running. I wouldn't be surprised if they stick with what they're comfortable with rather than just swapping to something else to make up for a weakness that they might have against a different comp. But either way, we are starting the match now, so we'll find out.
Oh my gosh, the fabled E leader is coming out. Oh my gosh, Charger v Charger is going to be crazy. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be a crazy fight versus Chargers here, because both teams have crazy turf advantage. But with the Chargers here, it's gonna be an ego fight against Chargers, because that's how you have to fight as a Charger. You just have to. Oh, never mind. You get shut down. The Firefin gets shut down. Never mind. Sub-Zero is kind of going crazy and pushing up as much as they can against the enemy team. That E leader is trying to get a pick as fast as possible.
The Dread is trying to force them, but they slide her in zone, trying to cap. Unfortunately, they do not, and the Dread goes down. But the Pro on top left does get a pick on the Zap, and they are able to hold that area.
Yeah, it's looking like Sunstrike is just trying to use some specials to get back into their court area here, as Sub-Zero has the turf advantage up on here, and the Blaster does go down onto Sunstrike here, and they are keeping turf as much as possible for Sub-Zero. And the points are slowly ticking down, and the Reef Cheese is not working for Sunstrike, which is so unfortunate, because I've had to do that trick with it, but it's looking like Sunstrike is at least able to pause zone and get Sub-Zero pushed back a little bit with 2 down on Sub-Zero. This look like we're finally getting a swap here. The Firefin is finally up to a point where they're really happy to be at, but a Booyah Bomb does try to push them out of position here. But a splashdown comes out, and if the Firefin manages to get a pick off of that splashdown, which is awesome. But 2 down for Sunstrike here. But the strikes are trying to just push in as much as possible, and they do lose control off of this.
Sub-Zero's back in control of zone, and the Charger is fighting up against the bucket. Sunstrike is back again to be having struggle pushing back in with the large amount of paint and special control that Sub-Zero has over the map right now. They did secure a good push. They do have the possibility of winning this game if they can get back in. They just have to play together and get back into their plat. But one does go down from Sub-Zero, which is a good omen for Sunstrike and Slider, and it looks like they might cap the zone. Another goes down.
They managed to get 2 down for Sub-Zero here, but it's looking like Sunstrike still has a lot to go because their turf is still unpainted, and Sub-Zero just manages to easily flip it because of their turf advantage. And the Firefin is just struggling to move around because they have no paint. It's just Sub-Zero with that zap and having so much paint with their bucket as well. They just have that turf advantage even against Sunstrike, which was already having a lot of turf advantage even on their side.
Mm-hmm. Just the amount of paint that is in this match, Sunstrike was able to win previous sets because of how well they played in their own paint, but now that they're being matched and aren't able to just have complete map control, they're struggling a little bit more. The Blaster is unable to get as many picks, but again, this is how this Blaster is, if they can just keep the paint up, this Blaster will be able to do a lot, and Sunstrike is back in control of zone.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like they're absolutely trying to keep up the turf as much as they can for their Blaster, but the Blaster is down at the moment, so this is going to be more of a fight of who can keep up paint so their port can at least save a semblance. And it does look like they finally got out of the pity, and this is more of a closer range now than possible, but it's 2 down, go down for Sunstrike. So it's looking like a automatic flip for Sub-Zero here, but the Blaster is trying to get a fight here as fast as possible. Kind of picking a pretty dangerous fight, which they might have to leave at any moment, right at the moment.
This is going to be a hard fight for the Blaster, but they are behind the zone, and they have strikes, and they do a splashdown. They do cap the zone and get two with that, so it worked out really well. We shouldn't have doubted. But with 2 on top left, it's going to be hard for Sub-Zero to hold this area, and they do have to jump out, and Sunstrike is back into it. Their penalty is ticking down, and they could take lead here if they continue to play slow and play smart.
Yeah, they just need to keep that special up as much as possible. They need to keep that reef up as long as they can, just so if there is a possible uptake like these strikes, oh my gosh, he read my mind as possible as he could. But that is such a crazy time because that is an unfortunate flip that happens for Sunstrike, as that is in a 1-point difference with only 10 seconds left. It's looking like it won't likely be going into overtime because of the amount of turf Sub-Zero has in court already.
Sunstrike unfortunately used all their specials to try to hold, and when it didn't work, they didn't have anything left for overtime. That is really unfortunate. Very well played by both teams. The original lockout, I was worried this was gonna be a fast game, but Sunstrike really turned it around. I think it's gonna be a very interesting set. These teams can play around each other very well.
Definitely, both of these teams are adjusting to each other pretty quickly, as like I said, both teams having a charger definitely betters how they're going to fight, especially that Blaster going against the E-leader is such a hard combo to go against because that leader is just going to be trying to get that Blaster down as fast as possible, which is Sunstrike's main person of aggressiveness. So they need to keep that leader distracted by something else just so that Blaster can get more picks.
100%. That Blaster struggled a little bit in that game. They did get a lot of picks, but they didn't have as much area to move around, so they weren't able to go as crazy as they previously were. But if they can turn it around, that Blaster got a lot of good value against this team. So if they can continue to up their value, that could change how these games turn out.
Definitely, and looking at both of these teams, both of these Chargers are doing so well playing against each other, but we do have a main common factor, which is Sub-Zero does have a cooler weapon, which is unfortunately something that still comes into play with how fast everyone is respawning. And with that Booyah Stamper coming out and having that cooler just is a slight problem just for that Blaster who doesn't have a cooler.
100%. That Stamper being able to play more aggro with that cooler really allowed them to play a lot more risky and just kind of play off of their main weapon and their pure scalability of getting these kills. So if they can continue to do that with the cooler and punish the blaster for not having cooler and punish the general comp, it's going to be hard. But I lost it again. Oh my god, I keep forgetting things.
I am super excited about this because it's Hagglefish Market. These chargers are gonna be fighting to the death on these canopies. They're gonna be fighting so hard, slapping each other as fast as they can. I'm just I'm like low-key worried about Sunstrike's charger because that leader has so much of a difference in range that they're gonna have to play a bit more careful against this leader who's definitely gonna be wanting to go for the kills.
That leader is definitely going to have a slight advantage, but based off of how that charger's been playing up a little bit more with that blaster supporting them in these fights, that might not be as detrimental as I might think, as I might previously thought, especially on this map. They can hold a good angle where they can reach the leader. They have a lot faster kill time with less range, so it's a hard matchup. I believe in this charger to be able to do it. Both these chargers are very good.
Definitely. If Sunstrike does bring back the V Charger, which I suspect that they might just because that Stamper was going to be throwing some Booyah Bombs at them, I think they have a pretty good solid chance of keeping these close games, which is super awesome to see as this is such a huge C difference, which is amazing to see that Sunstrike is keeping up as much as Sub-Zero, who they're just constantly fighting tooth and nail to keep these games as close as possible, which is so entertaining to see.
100%. That based on how close that game was, I would have not anticipated the seed difference was almost 20, right? They're 20 seeds away from each other, basically.
Almost. I think it's like 19 or something like that. It's a crazy seed difference.
Both teams are very strong and they're able to play around each other very well, and we will see how they are able to do it in this next game.
Doesn't look like much changed onto Sub-Zero's, but as I suspected, a V Charger comes out, and it's looking like a double bucket onto Sunstrike here, just so they can keep up the turf advantage as they like, and it does come with a little plus advantage of tri-strikes instead of missiles. So I'm excited to see how these strikes are going to combat the missiles that they previously used, but that blaster is already trying to get a pick on Sub-Zero here, so that's a great plus for Sunstrike here, which is amazing to see.
A delayed 3 down, unfortunate death to a bomb, but still Sub-Zero is going to be on the defensive now because of how quickly Sunstrike was able to take them out early in the game. The cooler does come out, and the slider comes out as well. Later down to the slider, but they do have cooler, so it's going to be easier for them to come back and fight around that.
Unfortunately, I don't think the leader got the cooler because that was not a fast respawn at all, and that blaster is just getting some crazy picks at the moment as well. But it does unfortunately go down because of the close range proximity, but that is a crazy push for Sunstrike here, and Sub-Zero is still trying to fight Sunstrike, getting the pushes as much as they can, using their utility as much as they can to at least get mid control back. But the blaster is on left side and gets a pick. 2 down, goes back to Sub-Zero.
A push to 40 early on, and Sunstrike still has not completely given up their area control. This might be difficult for Sub-Zero to push back in. The strikes do come out along with the wave. Are there strikes? No, it's just the wave. Never mind.
Back does come out for Sunstrike here, and they do also have Wraith that comes out and gets 2 on Sub-Zero here, but that is also 2 down for Sunstrike. So that bucket is gonna have to kind of like fight a game, and the Dread gets Aura. Awesome! Oh my god!
Love to see it.
But it does look like the Dread is gonna have to leave because they have no ink. But that is a crazy push that happened only 2 minutes in for Sunstrike here, and it's looking like they used great utility combinations, and just now they're just fighting for mid.
If they continue to play like this game might not be as close as last game, but Sub-Zero has a very good ability to adapt quickly and change how they're playing in order to come to take back these difficult leads that they have fallen behind on. 1 down from Sub-Zero, the Stamper is gone, and 2 down, the Chargers trade, but there's a jump on right, and they do have cooler, so they are back quickly while the Sunstrike's Charger is still behind.
Yeah, it's looking like Sunstrike is doing very well against Double Bucket. The Dread unfortunately does go down, and they have to at least keep up the cleanup in mid here. But the Chargers back up on tower here. They have strikes, they have the util, but they do have to play a little bit more patient here since they teamed. It seems like they're getting a bit antsy and trying to get get it a little bit further ahead than they think they're going to be. But it's looking like they're keeping the back here and tries to get a pick, but unfortunately misses the back, and that is 2 down for three for Sunstrike. So that is looking like the end of the push for them, but they have to at least keep mid, so Sub-Zero does not get a crazy push off of this.
And they do still have the slider on the side of Sunstrike, so if they do try to push up, they do have a way to just kind of stunt that a little bit. One goes down from Sunstrike, unfortunately, and there are 2 specials up. Another goes down in Sunstrike, but one is also down on Sub-Zero. It's just very close. Sunstrike may have stifled this push before it got much more points, which is very good for them.
Definitely. It seems like that Reef Slider has been pairing very well against the Charger, who's been using the back to keep hold of the tower. And it's like, I've been having a bit of an issue with the leader not getting many picks this game, if I'm like completely honest. It seems they've been kind of struggling to get as much picks as they can. Because they constantly are just moving to get a better position because they're getting poked on so many sides because of 2 buckets. The back is coming in hello, but I wasn't expecting the back to be there. It gets one with the back. The Charger is getting so confident because of this.
3 down.
3 down for Sub-Zero.
They do have strikes to kind of stall, but they have, and the strikes are down. Oh my god. They could break second check here if they're smart with it, and that would be that's really hard to push. With only 30 seconds left, if they can break second check, this game might be a lot. The difficulty of winning this game for Sub-Zero might increase exponentially.
That is 2 down for 3 for Sub-Zero being down because of the Reef Cheese, and that is a wipeout. They're getting past check here. They have the back so they can clean up that snipe area. GG strikes. That's crazy. Absolute cinema at this point.
GG's 2 down again.
Great job, Sunstrike, for keeping up tower here.
Very, very well done by both sides, but the swap double bucket was, and just the ability to push the leader out of position was very, very well done.
Yeah, definitely. That leader was having a really hard time adjusting with constantly getting poked by bombs or specials. They were having such a hard time moving around, and you could definitely tell they're missing some of that aggressiveness that the leader usually had on ship shape because they were just constantly moving and couldn't get adjusted as fast as the V Charger on Sunstrike.
Again, that just aggressiveness that comes from the V Charger being able to play up just a little bit faster and like a little bit being forced to play up a little bit further and having the ability to kill just that little bit faster can help it a lot against this leader, especially when their comp just consistently moves the leader around and doesn't really give them any good options for sticking in one spot for too long. Very, very well done.
Definitely, and we saw that so much because even when we were watching the leader, they weren't staying in one place as you normally see a leader would on Hagglefish. Like they have like the 3 common spots in Hagglefish. They were moving around so much because they just constantly were getting touched by the blaster and buckets because they were getting harassed like to a point where they just couldn't be comfortable.
Yeah. The bucket and the blaster were just able to follow the leader so well. There really was nowhere they could go, and the leader was the main thing that was holding them back. Like they were able to consistently fight the other members of the team, but the leader just had so much area control that they weren't able to move. But now with that leader out of position, it was a lot easier for them to take areas that they previously couldn't.
Oh, definitely. And it's looking like the next match is Clamblitz, Barney, and Dime, which is a very interesting pick that I think the leader kind of is probably going to be iffy about because leader on Barney Dime can be pretty hit or miss. And we've seen how both of these teams have kind of played on Barney and Dime as well. And both of them have that turf advantage, but it's more so who is going to be more aggressive, the B Charger or the leader here, because if that leader is going to be constantly pushed out and like out of position, they're going to be struggling to keep that aggressive flat portion for the leader here to get the clam economy up on their side.
Well, the flatness of this map does lend itself to the leader. It also lends itself to the charger and the buckets, or not really the buckets as much, but still, the charger being able to, both the chargers having their sightlines much increased will both be benefit and a negative to both teams. It'll be very interesting to see.
I'm wondering if Sunstrike is going to keep the double buckets here because the strikes lended so well to keeping the choke points pretty clear and moving the position of the leader out as fast as possible. So I'm wondering if they're going to keep that as much as they can because strike can also be pretty well on Barney Dime here because there's so many places you can misplace even the front line here with strikes and pairing that with the VAC, which can also push in their blaster, which they have. So I'm super excited to see if they're going to be pairing more of their specials here.
I would not be surprised to see the double bucket return because of how well they were able to deal with the leader with it. But because of how the map is situated, bucket is it's still bucket here, but like it's just a little bit weaker because there aren't as many angles and sightlines.
Once again, it's looking like they're keeping the same comp on Sub-Zero, but Sunstrike goes back to Crab Pro here, which is kind of unexpected as we see that the bucket was doing so well with strikes. So I'm super excited to see how well they're going to be placing their crabs, and it's looking like Sunstrike is just going for a pick. Gets two down on Sub-Zero. That blaster is going in as much as they can to get these fights, and that is a Reach Fighter coming out as well and getting the bucket. They are going in as fast as they can with the delayed wipe. Oh my gosh.
Forced the clan, but unfortunately get picked. Two down. That leader was able to clean them up very well. Sub-Zero might be able to push back in. The charger is picked out by the leader, and the leader is able to just hold their snipe very, very well, fighting up a little bit.
Nice retake for Sub-Zero, yeah.
Very well done by Sunstrike on the early pick, but they gotta have clans to back themselves up after that kind of push. So now without them, Sub-Zero is able to hold an area. Three down on the side of Sunstrike, and they seem to have clams for Sub-Zero to push.
Yeah, Sub-Zero is going for the push here with the turf advantage, and they're using the strikes just so they can get more claims in as well. I think that just first push for Sunstrike, they just got a bit too egotistical, and they just pushed up way too far than they should have had with no specials on hand because they wasted them too early. So Sub-Zero's took advantage of that and just hit the ground running and made sure that they punished Sunstrike for that.
The counter push was beautiful, down to 56 in the first minute and a half of the game. It was very, very good. One down from Sub-Zero might lend itself to Sunstrike push. Slider comes out, no exact value, and the clam does get killed before they can score.
Unfortunate ball drop there, and it's two down for Sunstrike, so they're gonna be playing more on the defense here, or not. They try to go fight, but an unfortunate pick from the Dread here. It's just Sunstrike is getting picked out so quickly by this Stamper here because they're losing so much turf because that bucket is painting so much for that Stamper.
Back comes out. If they can play off of this, it could lend it. They could push back into the plat or back in the mid, but they don't really walk with it. Two does go down. Very good pick on the leader from the charger. Blaster splashdowns, kills one. Two down.
Now two down for Sub-Zero here. Sunstrike trying to go in as fast as possible, but still trying to play a bit more patient than they did the first time. But I'm not too sure they're going to get too much claims in after this because they are three down. So that charger is going to be trying to play a bit more cautious here so their teammates can get back up to speed. But Sub-Zero is not taking kindly to that because they're pushing up as fast as possible. That turf advantage is keeping up on their side. Their mid is completely yellow at this point. So they're going to be needing that Reef Slider to come out and at least get a couple of picks here because they are struggling with turf here for that blaster to move around.
The blaster is trying to start something up on right with splashdown, and they're just trying to draw attention. They do have splashdown. They might walk forward. Unfortunately, get picked off by the leader. 2 down on Sunstrike. They're fighting up into plat very, very fast. If they can get a special out, they can probably score, and there goes the Booyah.
Yeah, the Booyah coming out, misplacing that charger. It's looking like they're gonna break that barrier and continue their push as fast as possible. And they have their Sunstrike
Dear
is.
God.
Where is Sunstrike? Why is there a flank? Oh my goodness. Sunstrike trying to go for a flank, but unfortunately was just a bit in too deep and had to just jump out and protect their lives. But the clam is just gonna end because they have balls.
GG's. That
They had the balls to
very,
wipe
very well
that.
done.
Wow. That was a completely different game from the past two. Wow.
Sub-Zero was able to just take immense control of mid and just did not let Sunstrike move at all. Very, very just wow. I'm like kind of starstruck almost.
Yeah, that leader managing to get the picks on the blaster who was trying to get a possible flank was kind of crazy, and it's just they were constantly keeping up the paint pressure that Sunstrike was not managing to keep up on. So I'm wondering if they're going to switch back to double bucket, because at least then they seem to have that blaster being able to have better mobility because of the more paint usage. Because did you see a single crab? Because I don't think I saw a single crab.
I don't think I saw a single crab. I was watching pretty intently for them.
I was kind of sad because I love crab, but I'm not too sure if Forge Pro was the great weapon there, because that leader was constantly just looking for picks, and having a crab there was just going to single them out as much as they could as well.
V Pro is just a difficult weapon, especially into this comp with just so much aggression, and Stamper kind of eats it alive. So it's just kind of it's a difficult pick, but it could have worked if they just gotten maybe one or two more crabs. But very, very well done by both teams. This is a pretty close set, but Sub-Zero kind of went crazy that last game, and we'll see if they can keep that up in the coming two. Or I guess one match point.
It is looking like... Oh, they're still waiting on a counter pick. But I'm still baffled about that beginning push that Sunstrike was trying to make. It just seemed that they got too ahead of themselves and just managed to kind of just they got too greedy and just outplayed their specials too fast. So when they actually wanted to get that push in for the basket, they had no specials to protect themselves, so they immediately just got picked off by the charger and the stamper. And unfortunately, I think that's just what caused them to kind of have that downfall, which happened so quickly during that game.
It was just a bit unfortunate. Their clam economy was just not quite enough to match with their aggression, and that when the person who was holding the power clam died by the leader, and then the next person tried to grab it and the leader killed it again. That was just unfortunate. They were able to play very well off of each other, but they weren't able to secure the score, which could have led to an early 50-point lead. But
definitely
did not quite play that way.
Definitely, definitely seems like they're pondering to kind of figure out what they like more. Unfortunately, Sunstrike cannot pick another tower map because they have won it already. So it's looking like to either be a Rainmaker map, which they might try to pull out, because they did do a pretty good job on Rainmaker Humpback, if I'm remembering correctly. But
beautiful out there.
Yeah, but that would be a pretty hard map for the leader to be kind of accomplished on. And if they bring that double bucket back, they would probably have a pretty fun time on Humpback Rainmaker, if I'm being honest.
That Humpback Rainmaker could be good for them. I would not be surprised to see them pick a zones again with the double bucket, because I think with the extra paint and the blaster being allowed to move more freely, with the double bucket would work very well. But we don't even know if they're going to pick the double bucket again. That might have just been a shot in the dark for Haggle.
Yeah. My main thing is I'm really hoping they don't pick a Crab Lake map, just because that leader is gonna have a heyday.
Oh my god!
That leader will have the time of its life, as we've seen on the Crab Lake Clams game. They got a delayed wipe just because the leader was up on top grades. You don't want to try and fight that, so I'm really hoping while they're pondering their maps, they don't pick crab leg.
Crab leg would be very detrimental, but humpback would be. I would pick humpback in this scenario, but again,
I
I'm not
personally
playing,
think they
so-
should play Humpback Rainmaker here because, okay, they did pick Rainmaker, but it's Undertow, which still is kind of hard for a leader to move around, but I still think they should have. I might be just biased though because Humpback is, I hate Undertow as a map mode, to be honest. I hate it, but
I'm not a fan of Undertow at all, but leader is a bit harder, but it does have some good sightlines. So,
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm wondering if they're going to pick the double bucket here just so they can move that leader out of position even faster, because if they keep that crab, I think they're going to have a bit of trouble moving around, especially because Spine on this map can be so 50-50 with moving because there's so many ways a weapon like the Stamper could flank.
That Stamper might have a heyday here. Undertow is really good for Stamper, but the Blaster is very good with all the different angles, especially on Rainmaker. If they can push up and take that grate, then Blaster's gonna have a lot of good angles. That Dread's gonna have a lot of good angles, and that charge. Again, they do have a Charger player, so they aren't gonna pick maps that are just completely horrible for Chargers. So
Yeah, that is the small disadvantage of both teams being a Charger. They can't go, which map would be bad for a Charger? Because they both play Charger. So it's just more so, how can they output this E-leader so they can stop getting as much picks as they did on Chip Shape and Barney Dime.
Undertow does lend it. Undertow is a map that kind of closes the gap between V-Charger and E-Leader due to how the sightlines are kind of all close together. There isn't really one spot where a leader can be and have a better sightline than where a Charger can be, but other than like pure range. But there's not one spot where it's like a leader's length away and a Charger can't reach it if a leader's there. We are going into the game 4 of Undertow Rainmaker, and we'll see if they make any big sweeping changes to their comms.
Looking like Sub-Zero did not. And it's looking like a Rapid Blaster comes out. What? That's kind of crazy to see. And a Gal comes out as well. So it's looking like they're completely switching up their game here on Sub-Zero. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to go. It's looking like they were trying to get an early flank here with the Gal, but unfortunately had to push back. Gets a pick though, but that is unfortunately just a trade that happens to go down.
Sub-Zero is able to hold with one down on Sunstrike, Stamper going down as well. The bucket, the slider jumps back, killed by the leader. A lot going on. Don't know what to say. Sub-Zero does grab going left fast. 3 down on the side of Sunstrike. This could be very bad. If they can clear first check and keep going, then it might be very difficult. The slider does come out. They do have a slider, so they could pop that soon. The Stamper goes down. Nobody is grabbing the slider. The bucket is the Dread is walking up. I mean,
yeah, definitely. It looks like they're just pushing back here just so they can gain more specials to keep out, because Sunstrike does have the more specials advantage, but they are down a member. But having those specials on hand can help block that out. But unfortunately, I don't know what that flank is going on there, but kudos to them for trying. That's very interesting to see. But it's looking like Sub-Zero here is just managing to keep it playing.
they're running it.
Yeah, they were just running it, but unfortunately they didn't have enough paint on the ramp to continue going. They're popping at those jets, but unfortunately getting canceled out by that leader.
Sub-Zero is just able to hold extremely confidently here. They do bring the Rainmaker on the top right. They drop it. There's one down. There are a lot of specials on Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero just has such a strong hold on this area. Sunstrike really needs a vital pick or a special or something to push him out. 2 down on Sunstrike, and the Rainmaker has been reset.
Yeah, it's looking like Sub-Zero here is having some really great turf advantage, and that leader is confident in where they're standing and being able to get some great picks, but unfortunately gets shut down by the Charger. But with that cooler up, they're not going to be gone for too long.
The Sunstrike does grab the Rainmaker, getting some first points on the board for them, pushing up left. Slider and strikes do come out. They do get check. They do not get check actually. The strikes cancel them just in time. Dread fighting the Zap. Zap kills them. 3 down on Sunstrike once again.
Really well done push there, but unfortunately because it was gone so quick, they just have to push back here and try to stay alive. But if the Gao does get called out for trying to push out so fast, Sunstrike does have a better turf advantage here because they seem to be painting a bit more, but Sub-Zero kind of is just waiting to get more picks here, and it's looking like they're wanting to get that pick as fast as possible.
A lot of specials are evident on Sunstrike's roster. 2 down on Sub-Zero. This could be something pretty big. They're going right for quick check. If they play this right, they could get a very, very fast lead.
And I don't know if you noticed it, but the Gal is going for a flank and is in the base already. So that is that is a great push for Sunstrike here, as that Gal was going in for a little bit of a crazy flank and manages to get the pick and kind of disrupt their play here, as Sunstrike is able to get set back up on right side and at least get that push back happening.
The way they're set up, they're spreading a lot of their attention, so they can't fully focus on stopping the Rainmaker. But unfortunately, they do go 2 down, and they do have to fall back into back spine. And Sub-Zero does have an ability now to get another pick with the Charger on Sunstrike Charger top left, picked out by the leader. The Booyah wasted a little bit, but still taking that space. 2 down, 3 down. Just the Dread with Slider.
Saving just for this Rainmaker, but unfortunately gets picked out by Chip. Looking like they're gonna get lead here, most likely because of this push, and they're going for the points. With only 7 points left, Sunstrike is going to need so much paint and so much aggression to get this point pushed even faster. But it's actually 1 point now. Oh my goodness! They pushed to 1, but there's so much paint that's left on Sunstrike's base here that they just have to push back, and Sunstrike is hitting the ground running just so they can get that Rainmaker out of their base. But unfortunately does get picked off by the leader. I don't know if they notice it, but there is somebody on right side, so they might get picked out here as fast as possible. Sunstrike is going to need to play patient with this Rainmaker so they can get the lead as fast as possible. But it's looking pretty scary because the Gao does go down, and there is a Booyah trying to track them down, and it does get lost because of the Booyah, which is a win for Sub-Zero. Amazing games on both ends here. Oh my goodness. Sunstrike managing to get a game off of one of the top seeds in the game. Sunstrike should give themselves a really good pat on the back getting to finals here. But Sub-Zero just manages to get them more aggressive, having that leader kind of running around and just having that great position to at least kill the other Charger. Once again, if the Chargers are fighting and one goes down, you just have to worry about your own self at that point, and it's Sub-Zero's leader was playing so aggressive that Sunstrike wasn't managing to keep up with it.
That was very well done by all parties, but Sub-Zero just was able to keep pushing, apply the pressure, and just when they pushed down to 1, they did not know. Sunstrike was unable to push back in. That was very well done.
I did see in chat that somebody said after 3 Shark Tank Silvers, they finally get gold. So congratulations, Sub-Zero, for finally winning your Shark Tank gold. But
very well
Splatoon and some other pretty cozy games. So if you ever see me pop up, I'll probably be playing a cozy game or Splatoon. So you can see me on twitch.tv/smallvoids.
Splendid. Go throw them a follow.
And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. And once again, congratulations, Sub-Zero, for winning. And this is another great, awesome time for Shark Tank Shallow Waters Homeland Edition. I'll see you guys next time.
GG, thanks for watching.